Stick provides soothing non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks VapoStick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Let's look for a bit of a changeable sky, a mix of clouds and sunshine, though I think we'll see a fair amount of sun. It's breezy and 44. Tonight, clear skies. It's cold, 24 Thursday. Sunshine dominates, 37 degrees, 12 Thursday night. Friday, we're at 19. We have a little bit of light snow for late Friday night and Saturday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Governor Newsom, who strikes me as Patrick Bateman meets Sparkle Beach Ken, may be the only Californian who knows less about economics than Kamala Harris.
Sorry, I had to start with that. That's like my favorite soundbite, Scott Bessent in Davos. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I really wish, I was listening to Dave Murray's forecast there very carefully because we have no idea what's going to happen this weekend here, do we?
No.
I mean, I was looking at one of the meteorologists on Facebook. They love to write like treaties. It's like unbelievable. Yeah. So, and I'm not, they can do, I think, who was it? Chris, who's a Chris? Who's a meteorologist?
Chris
Higgins? That was it.
Ah.
He's a meteorologist, right?
Yeah, I like him.
All right. I like him too, Chris, even though I couldn't remember your name. But I was reading his Facebook thing, and it took me like 3 hours to read. Because he's
and what did he say?
Well, no, he said a lot, actually.
Yeah.
But he's going through all the possibilities and what's going to happen. And maybe we're on the northern edge, and then we're on the southern edge, and then it's going to be ice, and then it's going to snow, and then it's going to be a blizzard. But the rest of the country, the thing is that I like big snows. I really do, especially on the weekend, right? So
Yeah.
I don't mind that. And I'm not risk averse to driving in the snow. I don't like the ice. But if you look at this thing, and we're going to get Dave on the air tomorrow because we'll have a little bit of a better picture to see how we'll be affected by this. But, this is a big, big storm that's going to affect a large part of the country. And you got places that we've had over the years. Ethan, this is a good question for Ethan because you're younger. What is the biggest snowfall total that you remember in your life?
Oh boy. Didn't we have a huge one in like 2006 where like the power was out here for a while? I remember I have a I remember we got like a week off of school. I remember one like that.
Okay. So
then
you had a big
2012 we had a big one like that too. Those are the two biggest
because
probably.
you have we were blizzard of 82 and I had a blizzard of 79 when I was in Chicago. There was one time in Columbia where we had, I think, 20 inches. It was a pretty big snow. Yeah, and it canceled classes. Now they cancel classes, if it's like below freezing. They're such big babies. But back then, they wouldn't cancel classes.
No.
But that one, I was out of school, but working in Columbia when that happened. But they did cancel the classes. But I bring it up because there's like places in Oklahoma and states that they get snow, but they don't get as much snow certainly as even we do. But they're looking at like a foot or 15-inch possibility. And you don't have snow removal equipment when you're in a place like that. That's one of the things that happens down in Texas when they get the ice and the snow. They don't, you got to make a decision, right? And when I lived in Wisconsin, we paid a lot of taxes, and there was some ROI when it came to the snow because they were so good at clearing the streets. It was incredible. Well, we spend a fair amount here, I think, in Missouri, but you get southern, it doesn't make any sense to have, gazillions of dollars going into snow removal when it might happen now and again, but that's when they get into trouble because they get ice storms and stuff like that. So the weather might be the big story as we wrap up the week, and we'll certainly keep you posted on that. Hey, we had some Yadier Molina news today, right? and I don't know what to believe here because we thought Yachty was going to be back with the team maybe a couple of years ago, and he really hasn't been around very much. Ethan, you want to weigh in on this and what they did?
Yeah, so Yadier Molina, the Cardinals announced today, will once again be a special assistant to the president of baseball operations, this time Chaim Bloom. Now, this same thing was announced a couple of years ago
right.
with John Mozeliak. It turns out that there were quite a few things that he wasn't happy about as far as, how the organization was getting ran, and nothing really ended up happening. Why I think that this is different is because Yadier Molina finally did make that return to the organization last year, where he was in the dugout a couple of times with Ali Marmol as a guest coach, and Ali and Yadi both spoke very highly of that time, that they enjoyed that. And there had kind of been some talks for a little while that they were trying to figure out a role in which he could have with the organization. So some of this is going to be in uniform. Some of it's going to be out of uniform. Some of it's going to be, just his thoughts on where they're heading, the things they're trying to do. He's going to have some say in some of the different things that they're doing with the catching programs and stuff like that. So it seems like this is a good amount of a little bit in, a little bit out for him, to where he is not having to, be here for 162 games, because I just don't know if he's ready for that yet.
Right, but I'd like to see him in that dugout,
I would
as much
too.
as possible.
Yeah, me too.
So we'll see what happens.
I think
with
fans
that.
need anything
to
get them excited.
Fred, you're not kidding, because I open up ESPN every day. Mainly, I'm reading still about football and NFL stuff, but I'm just kind of thinking, is there going to be anything that's going to be interesting for us to go see at the ballpark? And I'm all in on the rebuild. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think that this is a bad strategy. But as a baseball fan, and I've literally thought about that here, because the winter warm-up this past weekend, right?
Yes.
I mean, usually we'd be having one of our big new stars, our free agent signings is there or something like that, and well, there's none of that. So we'll have to see.
It depends on what you're going to be looking for this year. If
winning.
You're going to
I'm looking for winning. Just a little bit of winning. That's all. Not a lot of winning, but a little bit of winning.
Then I guess you'd have to define that, because this year, out of all the years, is probably going to be the year where that is not the thing that you should be going to the ballpark necessarily to expect.
Okay, I want
this team's going to
losing,
win 95 games. That's not going to happen. But if you're looking at some of these younger guys and you're kind of in tune with who could be a part of the future of this team when they're ready to have success again, then that's what this year's going to be for.
And I understand.
So we're looking for individual wins.
Right. But it's going to be painful is what I'm saying.
There certainly will be moments of that, yes.
But you know what takes away a little of the pang, a little of the sting? I'm going to be going to Greenland, I'm thinking, on a regular basis. I think we all
well, there
are.
You
because
go.
I'm going to be planting the flag there. Here's what Trump says this afternoon. Now, I could try to lie and fake you guys out and act like I understand all the important political and mineral rights and things that go. I don't know. I have no idea. All I know is Trump's trying to take over Greenland. Some people think it's a good idea, and some people don't think it's a good idea. We're not going to invade Greenland. Okay, there's no military troops that are going to go and swoop in with black helicopters and, kidnap the 300 people that live there. That's not going to happen. But here's what he said on Truth Social. Based upon a very productive meeting that I've had with the Secretary General of NATO, Mark, is it Rutte? Do you know?
Rutte.
Oh, okay, Rutte. We have the framework of a future deal with respect to Greenland and, in fact, the entire Arctic region. This solution, if consummated, will be one for the United States of America and all NATO nations. Based upon this understanding, I will not be imposing the tariffs that were scheduled to go effect on February 1st. Additional discussions are being held concerning the Golden Dome as it pertains to Greenland. That's an important aspect of this. Some people have said, well, is it really the mineral aspects of Greenland, or is it more the defense with the Golden Dome? I think that's something that is up for discussion. He says further information will be made available as discussions progress. Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and various others as needed will be responsible for the negotiations. They'll report directly to me. Thank you for your attention to this matter. By the way, on the topic of J.D. Vance, he's going to Minnesota tomorrow. He's going to be in Minneapolis tomorrow. So keep your eyes on that. So the EU leader's a little nervous about all this.
Let me be direct. We are in the midst of a rupture, not a transition.
It's clear that we are reaching a time of instability, of imbalances.
Now, so many red lines are being crossed that you have the choice between your self-respect. Being a happy vassal is one thing, being a miserable slave is something else.
It is time to seize this opportunity and build a new independent Europe.
I do like listening to Macron just because of the French accent. By the way, if you saw Macron yesterday, I don't know if I ever mentioned this on the air. Fred and I talked about it off the air.
I never thought this was the answer.
So he had these flashy sunglasses on yesterday, and it was like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to do a style thing here, or is there another reason? And there was another reason. It was something that had to do with his eyes, and I can't remember all the specifics of it, but he was wearing them for a reason. I guess he had to wear them last week. But he did look super cool in them because he's Emmanuel Macron. Trump said nice things about him today. All right, so why in the hell do we need Greenland, and how much is it going to cost us?
Mr. President, do you see a price for Greenland that's reasonable?
I could see that, yeah. I could see that.
How would you calculate?
I could see that, but there's a bigger price, and that's the price of safety and security and national security and international security, having to do with many of your countries. That's really the price, and that's the big price.
Okay, so this is new audio that has just come in. By the way, here's another thing about today is I don't know what the time difference is, probably like 6 to 8 hours or something like that, right? So this morning, Trump's doing his thing, and I mean, he just owns the room because he's the guy. And then he takes a break, and Fox and CNN go to the other coverage. I look up again. He's on there again. This time it's like a dinner time speech. And I even texted Fred. I said, is he basically giving the same speech that he gave this morning? And I think he was. But he also did some Q&A today, and he talked about Greenland.
Mr. President, how did you do the deal? Come and tell us how you did the deal, sir.
It's a good deal, fair deal for everybody. I think it's a very good deal. No, it's a great deal for everybody.
Will there be an acquisition?
No, I think they're going to be very happy. It's a great deal for everybody.
The world wants to know how you did the deal, sir.
Yeah, so what? How did you? I'm still confused. Do we have can we call Greenland ours now? Is that where we are?
But it's a really good deal for everybody.
Do you still plan to acquire Greenland?
Really good.
Is it a win for
Are the
America?
tariffs off the table completely now, sir? Can the people of the UK rest assured the deal's gone?
Based on the fact that it looks like we have the concept of a deal. It's a deal that people jumped at.
All right, so this is like in what they call a press gaggle, right? So he's kind of answering the questions, but this is a little bit more. I don't know that he ever gives us any specifics, Fred, does he?
He doesn't. He does two things. He says, we have a deal in the works.
Yes.
And it's an infinite deal.
Yeah, so here's what he says there.
What did Mark Rutte say?
Well, he's a great leader. I think he's fantastic. The Secretary General was representing the other side, which is really us too, because, we're a very important member of NATO. I've done a lot for NATO. And it's really nice. I mean, it's a deal that everybody's very happy with.
Does it still include the United States having ownership of Greenland like you said you wanted?
It's a long-term deal.
Okay, it's a long-term deal. I don't know what that all is going to amount to. Fred, do you have a better sense of what he's doing right now?
No
okay,
idea.
Good.
It's just a
I'm not
long-term
lost.
deal. It's infinite, and it's in the works.
Okay, and now we have Greenland. And I almost like it for no other reason, just because the left's head explode, just completely explode, right? We should actually start the rumor that there's troops, moving into Greenland
I think
or
Mark
something.
Mark Thiessen, Fox
Mark
News
Thiessen, yeah.
Fox News analyst, said the chief of NATO is the only one of the European leaders who still has a full head of hair, because all the other ones were like their hair was just burning off in panic over what Trump was saying. He says,
Oh, that's funny.
He's the only one that understands how Trump negotiates.
Yeah.
He goes in asking for everything, and then you get a deal on something.
Do I have audio? Is that the second cut here?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
So Rutte has a beautiful full head of hair because unlike other European leaders, he doesn't set it on fire every week when Trump says something. The first step is keep your hair intact, right? Don't set your hair on fire every time Trump says something that seems unorthodox or scary or whatever like that. I mean, the idea that the Europeans were sending a dozen troops to Greenland to stave off an American invasion and we're saying that the NATO alliance was going to be over, it was ridiculous. And Rutte knows that you take Trump seriously. You don't react to everything that he says that seems a little bit outrageous, that it's negotiating tactics, and treat him with respect. Donald Trump has made the NATO alliance stronger than any president in modern history, and so Trump appreciates that.
Yeah, that's true. Fred, you and I have never been asked to sacrifice for our country in the military. I don't know about you, but I would throw down for Greenland. I would suit up, I would quit my job, I would go to Greenland, and I would fight those damn whoever they are. Greenlanders, Norway people.
I don't know.
I don't know
Are
who
you
they are
fighting
either.
the Netherlands?
I'm going to fight someone. That's all I know.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Oh, southbound 55 is pretty slow now, headed down toward Bates in the construction zone. And northbound 170, a slow spot as you head toward Olive. So it's just pretty slow there. It starts near the Forest Park Parkway. 70 westbound looks good out of downtown. Some moderate volume on southbound 270 headed for Ladue Road. And 64 out west, a little bit of moderate volume at Prospect already. This report brought to you by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Need a new garage door? Entries are now open for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Enter now at overheaddoorstlewis.com. Deadline to enter is the end of the month. You can't win if you don't enter. Overheaddoorstlewis.com. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Thank you, Sue. Charles Lipson coming up from the University of Chicago to talk some politics. Let's talk about family law. That's sometimes an area of the law that is not fun to talk about because that means divorce. And Susan L. Ward is an extremely talented and very experienced divorce attorney, family law attorney here in the St. Louis area. And she can help you with whatever might be related to that, because it's not just the end of a marriage. It could be issues related to kids. These things get very tricky, even like grandparent visitation. And you have relocating. When I was divorced in Wisconsin many years ago, my kids moved back here to St. Louis. I moved back finally, had to happen, and then we had to redo the parenting plan, and that's what happens when you have a situation that changes, and Susan can help you with all of that. They have a beautiful new office in De Pere at Manchester and 270. The website, stlfamilylaw.com. The focus on family law, the emphasis on you, Susan L. Ward.
Imagine this, a summer evening, relaxing under a beautiful porch overhang, hosting your friends on a composite deck, or enjoying a bug-free breeze in a screened room. That sounds dreamy, right? Hi, it's Kim, and that dream can be your reality with Lakeside Renovation and Design, because they specialize in creating outdoor spaces that make your backyard the go-to spot for family and friends. And with their attention to detail and the high-quality materials they use, you'll have a space that lasts for years. Visit lakesideRD.com today to get started on your outdoor oasis.
Now that we're getting older, we've been putting more thought into maintaining our health.
We knew the water we drink every day could be filled with contaminants, so
we called Leaf Home Water Solutions.
They came to our home and did a free water test and gave us the analysis right away.
We were shocked at what we saw.
They found heavy metals like iron and copper.
Our own tap water was putting our health at risk, but Leaf Home Water Solutions made it easy to get safer water from every tap and hose. A whole home solution.
They have more than 250 product combinations and designed a system that fits our needs and budget. The installation took less than a day.
With Leaf Home Water Solutions, our water is safer and healthier. When we drink, when we cook, when we shower, even when we garden.
We feel better about our health.
Thanks to Leaf Home Water Solutions.
Schedule your free home water test today at leafhome.com/free and save 15% on all home water treatment systems. That's leafhome.com/free for your free home water test and 15% off. leafhome.com/free.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
So I got to tell you, I'm so exhausted and sick and tired of my guests on my show going off and daring to want to do bigger and better things, because now we might lose Michelle Tafoya. She's running for the Senate in Minnesota.
For too long, hardworking people have been ripped off by criminals, corporations, and career politicians. And the people doing everything right are the ones paying the biggest price. Well, I'm not going to stay on the sidelines any longer. Starting today, I'm running for the United States Senate.
Sidelines. Get it? Get it, Sue?
I got it.
She was a sideline reporter. I love Michelle. She's been great to us.
Awesome.
You know, it's funny, though. Fred has had a little trouble the last week getting a hold of her. I wonder why.
Yeah.
Now we know, right? Our friend Charles Lipson is on the line this afternoon, Professor Emeritus at the University of Chicago. How are you this afternoon, Charles?
I'm doing good. I just want to see if the negotiations with Europe change while we're talking.
They might. They might. You want to try to explain?
I've never seen anything move this fast.
I mean, can you tell me what's going on? I mean, are we planting the flag on Greenland right now? Because you're not kidding. I mentioned this in the open. Trump's up there on TV every hour or so, and every time I think he's not live, he is live. So what can you garnish from what happened over there?
Well, he starts off with these maximalist positions, and everybody goes into a tizzy, and then he gets a lot out of the negotiations, it seems. I think the upside is very clear to me. He gets a lot from these negotiations. The downside is that he approaches every negotiation, it seems, as a boat on its own bottom. It's a tactical, what can I get from this, and so forth. When a lot of these things are about longer-term relationships, and there's always a price to be paid if you try to get every last penny out of each negotiation that you're doing. So I don't know whether that's happening this time or not, and it's a little hard to tell what the advantage is in Greenland, because we already have a lot of advantages there from existing treaties, so it's unclear what the new framework will give us that we don't already have.
Yeah, so we're going to have to wait for some of this, though, to shake out, because you're right. It's happening very, very quickly, and it's a little tough to understand exactly, what's happening. He had a gaggle, a few minutes ago, a little bit. We played some of the audio, but not a lot of really clear answers from that, Charles.
I agree, and if I walk to the bathroom to wash my face, there could be a new outcome in the negotiations. I was seeing a report yesterday that people in the White House are just exhausted. That this man, who, remember, the Democrats were trying to tell us he's too old to run and so forth, is running a pace that none of them can keep up with.
Okay, now I'm so glad you brought that up, because let me play something here that was on CNN from Jeff Zeleny, and I can't even believe that he said this, and he's kind of comparing and contrasting Trump in the last Trump, the first Trump term, to this one.
He returned to Washington after a night at the National Championship football game. Of course, he'll be leaving tonight for Davos to give a very big speech tomorrow. This is a Donald Trump who is still standing up there at the moment, who barely resembles the president in his first term.
What?
He is just has an entirely different set of energy and capacity to hold that room.
Okay, like, you mean more energy than he had 4 years ago? Because he's got more energy. I mean, I can't believe he's going on. Well, I can, because it's CNN, trying to make the case that this guy, after they ignored everything that Biden wasn't doing in his mental health and physical health, and Jeff Zelny's trying to tell the American people that Trump's a different guy, man. He doesn't have it anymore, Charles.
Well, let's just ignore CNN like the vast American public does. By the way, in the buyout arrangements, the negotiating price for CNN is actually zero. That is, it is actually worth nothing. But
that doesn't shock me.
But in fact, I would say, to me, Trump looks different. He looks older. He looks more weathered. But his energy is just phenomenal. So if what they didn't make it clear whether they're saying he has more energy or less, but I don't see any diminution of energy. Listen, man, when I get back, I had lunch today with a friend who he just flew in from Philadelphia. He has a second house in Philadelphia in addition to his house in Chicago. He likes to spend time there with his grandchildren and so forth. He was tired. Trump just flew back from Florida and then flew all night.
I know.
Had to change planes to get to Switzerland. You ever flown to the middle of Europe? It's a overnight trip. It's exhausting. And he was fresh. He didn't say I have to leave. He took gaggles of reporters and all the rest of it. And he went into a room, and this is important for listeners to understand. Davos is ground zero for world globalism, and Trump is ground zero for a kind of nationalist, populist pushback against that globalism. He went in there and dominated the room.
Oh yeah. That's what I had said in the open. So let me shift a little bit here, because I want your thoughts on what is evolving in Minnesota. I mentioned at the beginning, J.D. Vance, the White House announced that he will be in Minneapolis tomorrow. I have felt this immigration issue. We've talked about this the last couple of weeks. I feel this is slipping away from them a little bit here because of the narratives that are emerging. I have no issue with the shooting of Renee Good. I wish she wasn't killed, and I wish she didn't accelerate into that officer. But, Charles, I do think that there are some things happening right now that are getting the attention of independent voters and maybe even people who support Donald Trump that are uncomfortable for them. You have the police chief of Brooklyn Park outside of Minneapolis saying that some of his own officers have been pulled over and asked for papers. And, again, sometimes it's hard to tell what's true, but that kind of stuff is different than what we were promised. And I'm fine with deporting whoever's not here legally at all, okay? Just want to make that clear. But I'm also looking at the broader picture of what's going to happen in November and beyond.
Well, this won't make for a very good conversation because I agree with everything you just said.
Yeah, I figured you would.
And the polling shows the same thing. I think the problem here is not whether they're legally right or even ethically right to go after these people. The point is you can't get too far different from what the American public thinks is good policy. And I think that they're right to go into these blue states that aren't cooperating with them. But I think when you start going in, and I think that the Somalia, there are two separate issues in Minnesota. They overlap, but we need to think of them separately.
Yeah,
one is that there are a lot of people who have come into the country illegally, and some of them have committed horrible crimes. There's an additional problem, and it's very strong in blue states that they have laws or they simply have judges that are letting really dangerous criminals out onto the street after multiple crimes. They are a threat to the public, and they need to be held in check.
Absolutely, but the other part of that is I think the administration needs to do a better job of explaining who these people are that they're going after, because it's handing victories certainly to the legacy media and the Democrats. Charles Lipson, always great to have you on. Thank you so much. You have a great week.
Great to talk to you.
All right,
friend.
take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We do have some volume out there, nothing unusual. And if you are westbound on 6440, that means a slow go approaching Hampton out through McCausland. Moderate volume Lindbergh through 270. 70 looks great out of downtown. It's in good shape. And southbound 270, still mainly moderate volume. This is Page in pockets down through Doherty Ferry. And 55 is really a little bit slow already south of Arsenal through Bates in the work zone. Eastbound 44 is jammed in that construction zone. Couple of lanes down between Hampton and Grand. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I had to get on the horn with Mike Reynolds from Michael's Flooring Outlet a couple of weeks ago. We're still trying to get someone over to my house to do a little carpet repair. Before we replace carpeting that the dog and the bunny have not destroyed, but certainly affected in a not a positive way, we're going to do some repair work. You know, they can do that. If you need servicing, carpet stretching is something that people do. They can handle anything along those lines at Michael's Flooring Outlet. But what they really specialize in is getting you into the right flooring for your particular lifestyle and doing it at a price that fits your budget. And you can do this. It's amazing, the quality of products, hard flooring and soft flooring. The arrangements or the options that you have out there are unlimited. I always recommend going into the store. If you go into that Old Town St. Peter's store in particular, you can touch and feel and look at these products. The team from Michael's will guide you into the right product for your situation, like I said, and your budget. And you can do this on a budget. You'd be, I think, blown away by how great of quality you can get and not just break the bank. IGotFloor.com. 3 awesome locations, open 6 days a week. They are closed on Sunday in Old Town St. Peter's, in Darden Prairie, and, of course, in West County on Olive. The website, IGotFloor.com.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. One question I'm always asked is, how did you become the largest injury firm in the world with over 1,000 attorneys and $25 billion in verdicts and settlements? One way was our financial strength. Medical malpractice is the 3rd leading cause of death in America. To prosecute a typical case costs up to $250,000 in case cost. We advance them all. Product liability cases can have similar costs with an army of lawyers on the other side. Automobile insurance companies have the resources to fight. Guess what? So do we. Many law firms simply may not have the financial firepower to work up your case the way you deserve. And we don't charge by the hour. No recovery, no fee. If you have a question about your case or wish to become a client, go to forthepeople.com on your mobile device or computer. 24/7. It's that easy. Morgan & Morgan. Injured? Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Mark Cox here. This is my invitation to you to join me September 30th as we discover the charm of Switzerland, Austria, and Germany with Colette Travel. Spend 4 nights in Bern and 4 nights at the foot of the Alps in Innsbruck. There are cobblestone streets and postcard-worthy mountain landscapes of the amazing Alps everywhere. We'll explore the Swiss capital of Bern and Lucerne, the Swiss paradise on the lake. Plus, we'll travel the Austrian countryside to Salzburg with a visit to Mozart's birthplace and beautiful Mirabelle Gardens featured in The Sound of Music. Colette handles all the details, from flights to meals, hotels, and local experiences. Your only job is to have the time of your life. Don't miss joining me. Call Colette at 800-581-8942 or visit 971talk.com to learn more. The number again, 800-581-8942. Call today.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
3:33. This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
From High Ridge to Pontoon Beach, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, so it's a Wednesday. That means our friend Alex Rich is going to visit in the 4 o'clock hour. He's fresh off his trip to Miami to see his Hoosiers win the national championship. So Alex got off the plane last night. He's going to give us a few more stories, and I got some stuff that I want to cover with you guys. In the next hour, we have a Wednesday edition of Sue's News coming up as well. And then 5 o'clock hour, Duane Patterson from hotair.com, the host of the Duane's World podcast. I mentioned this story yesterday by Kat Rosenfield that's in the Free Press, and I was quite taken by the reporting in here, and it's really kind of a complicated story. So we invited Kat to come on and explain it. She writes for the Free Press at thefp.com, and this is actually a story about the author of young adult genre books, 13 Reasons Why, which became a Netflix show.
Right.
Kat, welcome back to the show. How are you this afternoon?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me back.
I have to tell you, around 2 o'clock yesterday, my show starts at 3 Central. Around 2 o'clock yesterday, I'm going through some stuff, and I see your story, and I start reading it, and I couldn't stop. I read the whole thing. It probably took me 20 minutes, and it was well worth the read. It's really, really great reporting. I tried to encapsulate it on my show yesterday, but I don't think I did it, Kat, because it's rather involved. So I'm going to ask you to kind of summarize what this is all about to get us started here, because it's kind of complicated, I think.
Oh, God, it is a journey.
Yes.
I don't know how good I'm going to do at summarizing it either. But basically, in 2018, there was a Me Too reckoning in the world of young adult fiction. Yes. It took place in the comments of a blog post on schoollibraryjournal.com. And the comments were almost all anonymous. And so, unsourced. Many people piled into this comment section to accuse various men and women of being sexual predators.
Right.
And one of the names that kept coming up was Jay Asher, who wrote 13 Reasons Why. Allegations were vague, nonspecific. No one could say exactly what it was he was supposed to have done, just that he was bad. Nobody came forward. No woman came forward saying that she had been abused or harassed or assaulted by him. No evidence surfaced to this effect, but the Society of Children's Book Writers and Editors, which is a professional organization for young adult fiction writers and editors and other people in children's publishing, decided that they needed to make a statement about Asher. And so Lynn Oliver, who was the executive director at the time, got on the internet and said that he had been investigated for harassment, found guilty, and expelled from the organization. None of this was true. And so he lost his entire career. He hasn't worked in about 8 years. But more interestingly, the backstory of this, the way all of this got started, is it turned out, as far as I can tell, based on my reporting,
right,
that this all began with anonymous allegations against him from one woman who had had a consensual affair with him back in 2005 and who was still upset that it had ended badly. And so she kind of embarked on a campaign to destroy his life.
So to be clear here, and you make this really, really crystal clear in the reporting, Jay Asher was a serial adulterer, right? And he admits that. He's cheating a lot. He's cheating on his wife. He's cheating on the women that he's cheating on his wife with, right? All this stuff.
Yeah. He doesn't come off well here. I would not personally want to be married to him. But there is a difference, of course, between a man who cheats on his wife and a man who harasses, abuses, assaults, or otherwise criminally harms women.
And I agree with that. And something happened yesterday. I want to play you this. I don't know if you heard this audio, but it kind of tied in with your reporting, ironically, because Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are out there doing promotion for their new movie. And I think this was on the Rogan soundtrack where Matt Damon is talking about people getting canceled in Hollywood and how that affects them.
I bet some of those people would have preferred to go to jail for 18 months or whatever, and then come out and say, no, but that we can't, I paid my debt. The thing about that, getting kind of excoriated publicly like that, it just never ends.
So he wasn't talking about Jay Asher, Kat, but I couldn't help but thinking about Jay Asher when I heard that clip yesterday.
Yeah, that is kind of the problem, is that once this gets started in the court of public opinion, when you suffer this sort of professional and social death, there is no end to it necessarily, and there's no path back. You are a pariah for as long as people want to make you one.
Why did he want to tell this story? And he's been trying to tell this story for a while. And why did you decide to tell his story?
Well, I was a young adult fiction writer at the time that this happened. And so I remembered it very vividly, this, pile on and these blog comments. I remember, watching it unfold and thinking, God, this is really strange. This has, there's no evidence of any of this. People are having their lives destroyed. It feels like a witch hunt. And I was aware at the time that a number of people named in those comments did lose their agents, lose their book deals. Somebody had their work pulled, unpublished basically by her publisher, a woman did. And then I sort of forgot about it. And I happened to encounter Jay Asher on Twitter. And last year, and I thought, wait, is this the same guy?
Right.
And once I confirmed that it was, I asked if he would be willing to talk to me. And it took a little bit of convincing. He was reluctant. He was concerned about trusting me, but I eventually persuaded him to go on the record.
It's one of those situations where, like you said, he's not an empathetic character. He admits that. That becomes very clear in your story. But I can't help but thinking about, and I'm not trying to defend men who are, doing terrible things to women, and it happens still too often, right? But man, this guy's life got turned completely upside down. And as so often is the case, like his agent drops him. There's no phone call about that, right? It's just, you're gone. You're that's it. And relationship after relationship in Hollywood is just completely gone, frayed. So he's got nothing.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And, unfortunately, because at the time, nobody actually knew what it was he had been accused of. All they knew was what Lynn Oliver of SCBWI had said. She said he was investigated, found, that he had violated the harassment clause, and he had been expelled from the organization. And this was the only information anybody went with at the time. And many people, in translating that information to headlines, fudged it a little bit. So it was Jay Asher has been accused of sexual harassment or sexual assault or worse. He never actually was. It was a very, very strange Me Tooing in that no specific allegations were ever made. But the fact that there was no specificity to it meant that people just sort of filled in the blanks with the worst thing they could imagine. Nobody thought, well, this guy is just a cad who cheated on his wife a bunch with the wrong person and ended up, having his life ruined over it.
Kat Rosenfield is here from the Free Press. She wrote about Jay Asher this week. Explain who Jessica Freeberg is and her role in your story.
Jessica Freeberg is the one person who, at the time that all this was going on, was willing to take a stand for Asher. She was his co-author on a book called Piper. She actually had this experience. She knew that he had been a philanderer. By this point, I believe that he and his wife had separated, and she knew that he was trying to kind of move on and be a better person by the time they were starting to work together. So she knew that he had these affairs. She also knew that there were ongoing grudges related to these affairs because she was approached at a writing conference by a stranger several years back. A woman came up to her and said, "Stay away from Jay Asher," and then walked away. And she understood this to be, somehow related to Asher's previous affairs. She thought it was ridiculous at the time. But then when all of this, controversy started erupting around him after this blog post and all these anonymous allegations, she understood that she was seeing a similar thing happening now, that the Me Too movement was being leveraged as a weapon of revenge. And so she resigned at the time from SCBWI. She sent Lynn Oliver an email explaining why. And she was also willing to talk to me for this piece, for which I was very grateful.
Well, I thought it was excellent, Kat, and thank you for coming on here and talking with me about it. It's a little, and it's an unusual story. It's not political or anything like that, but it really does represent a lot of what's happened. Some of these folks just disappeared, and again, it's awkward because you don't want to come off as defending the, serial philanderer or whoever. But man, when this guy, I don't know what the pay scale would be at his height in young adult, but he was probably making millions, right? It's fair to say. And then in 2025, you report his income was $16,135.
Yeah. And I mean, it is kind of tragic. This is a 50-year-old man with a child who he can't really support because he can't get a job. Every time somebody Googles him, it's Jay Asher expelled from Organization for Sexual Harassment. You wouldn't want necessarily to hire that guy. And so, this is one of the reasons why he wanted this story told, and I think also the truth matters to him. He wrote a whole book. His best-selling novel is about the destructive power of gossip.
That's right.
How it can ruin lives.
Right.
Yeah, it is. It is ironic. But at this point, I think, maybe people disagree, but I think he's certainly paid for having been a philanderer. His wife has forgiven him. And the question now is just, will this truth about what actually happened matter to anyone else?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Yeah, his wife is more gracious than you would ever expect an ex-wife to be, quoted in your piece. Thank you, Kat. I thought it was great work. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the Free Press, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads this afternoon, it's not too bad out there. But we do have some volume. Now, there's a report of a stall northbound 55 at the ramp to Carondelet, kind of the left part of the exit lane, the left shoulder closed. Well, that is just so messy through there anyway, so really take care. It's southbound that's lined up, headed down toward Bates. We've got eastbound 44 jammed anywhere from, looks like it's Hampton now, through Grand, and that's due to road work. We've got westbound traffic on 64 lining up approaching Hampton out through McCausland, and then moderate volume between Lindbergh and 270, slowing again at Highway N and at the 70 split. Westbound 70, moderate volume at Jennings Station Road, and really southbound 270 just has moderate volume in pockets, but it's from Page down through Gravois. And if you're headed into Illinois, we're fine on the bridges. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, this Friday is going to be a lot of fun at the Missouri Athletic Club, the West location. It's the 30th anniversary of that location, and they are encouraging people to party like it's the 90s. You could even dress up. There's going to be a DJ, but that really is incredible, especially if you've been around St. Louis for a while. It was the Town and Country Racquet Club, and you had the legendary downtown location, and now the MAC is putting a location in Clayton, so that's big as well. I always talk about the children's charities. We have the Charitable Society for Children at the MAC. And the Meet the Charities Night is coming up in a couple of weeks at the West Clubhouse, too. I mentioned in the last year how, we go through and we take nominations for different groups. This year, it's Books for Newborns, Joshua's Great Things Foundation, and Missouri Kids. All kinds of great groups here in St. Louis, and they can't do it only with the help of government. You have to help, and there's a lot of generous folks here in St. Louis that help these charities do that. You can always find out more at mac-stl.org.
Are you a local nonprofit making a difference? Want help spreading the word? We want to hear from you. 97.1 FM Talk in Action highlights the great work being done in our community. Share your mission at 971talk.com/talkinaction.
If you need a garage door, this could be your lucky day. Entries are open now for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. A winner will be chosen at random to receive $5,000 towards new garage doors, openers, or front entry doors of your choice. Deadline to enter is the end of the month to win the $5,000 sweepstakes with Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Enter now at overheaddoorsstlouis.com. You can't win if you don't enter at overheaddoorsstlouis.com.
I'm Dr. Nick Barnes at Health From Within Family Chiropractic in Rock Hill. At Health From Within, our mission is to transform the way you manage your health by bringing you the truth about health and healing. We use proven techniques to remove interference in the nervous system and maximize health naturally, without drugs or surgery. Connect with me at healthfromwithinstl.com and join me for Maximize Living on this station every Sunday at 8 a.m. or download the Maximize Living podcast, healthfromwithinstl.com.
If you suffer from burning, tingling, or numb feet, pay special attention as we discuss neuropathy with Dr. Patton, D.C. Doctor, what is neuropathy?
Peripheral neuropathy is nerve damage to the feet and legs.
What are the symptoms?
The symptoms are numbness, burning, tingling, pain, and loss of balance.
Is neuropathy treatable?
It's absolutely treatable, and we have amazing results.
If you have burning, tingling, numbness, coldness in your feet or hands or balance issues, call us at Comprehensive Integrated Health today for a nerve damage screening. The screening will tell if you're at risk for serious complications and if you're a candidate for our cutting-edge treatment program. Don't wait until your symptoms are so severe nothing can be done. End-stage neuropathy leaves people confined to walkers, wheelchairs, and even amputations. The first 10 callers will receive a free nerve damage screening. Call 636-538-5188. That's 636-538-5188 for your free nerve damage screening. 636-538-5188.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Hey, my daughter took part in the spelling bee at Stanton Elementary in the Rockwood School District. I want to tell you a little story this morning about that this afternoon about what happened this morning, Sue, because there was a word that came up and they qualify, if you all the school winners will go to like the next level, and this all is part of the Scripps National Spelling Bee. When there was a word that was given this morning that has two spellings that were acceptable, and when I tell you that word, I think you're going to be surprised by that.
Okay.
So we'll do that in the next hour.
Ooh,
I got some other things I want to share
in.
as well. All right, so Fred tells me this is new audio. We're trying to figure out if Greenland is the, 51st state, 50, I don't even know where we're at right now because Puerto Rico is probably going to become a state if the Democrats get back in there. But here's essentially what's happening.
So think about it this way. Look at Guantanamo Bay. We don't own Guantanamo Bay. It's the sovereign territory of Cuba, right? But we've had it since 1903. The Cubans have tried to kick us out for almost 7 decades now, since the 1959 revolution, and we're not going anywhere because we have an indefinite lease. We pay them a check for $4,083 a month, and they never cash it. So we are leasing it, but it's an indefinite lease that expires only if we choose to leave or the two countries agree to end it. That's 9/10 of ownership is possession. So if we can put bases in using that same model, then that works just as much as owning it outright.
So that probably is the best analogy that I've heard up until this point. And the word infinite was used by the president earlier this afternoon in his gaggle. So Mark Thiessen is trying to explain this a little bit.
We need Greenland because of global warming, partly, because what's happening is as the Arctic ice recedes, the sea lanes through the Arctic are going to be open longer and longer, and eventually they'll be open permanently. And, the reason why the Panama Canal is so strategic is because that's the way you cut through to go from the Atlantic to the Pacific. All our shipping, of everything that goes through there. If you have the Northwest Passage open, then it cuts down the time to go from the Atlantic to the Pacific to 20 days. And China and Russia are moving hard into the Arctic, and most of that Arctic passage goes up between Canada and Greenland, then across Canada, then across Alaska into Asia.
So, that makes sense. It certainly makes sense from a strategic standpoint. It's just the part that's kind of hard to get your arms around is the notion that it's our territory or it's not our territory,
right,
or it's a lease of a part of the territory. Mark's been the best that I've heard so far, but I think we need to hear a little bit more because, again, the American people hear this. If we don't understand it, right? Most people think we're sending the military to take over Greenland, and they're saying, what? So I just think that the particulars need to be spelled out a little bit better. So before we get to the top of the hour here, there was a couple of pieces of audio that I wanted to share. And Sue, I hear these things, I see these things on TikTok. I'm stunned that people are comfortable in their skin saying these things publicly. Look, I'm in the public eye every day, right, when I'm on the radio. And I got to be careful about some of the things I say. I know that if I say something or if I do something on social media in particular, it doesn't take much to get in a whole heap of trouble, right? So what would make a nurse, and her name is Shanda Petrie Sazerac. People identify these people all the time, right? I don't know what her employment status is right now, but listen to what she felt comfortable doing on TikTok.
My wish for Caroline Lovett. She is pregnant with a baby girl, and I truly do hope that baby is so healthy. I hope she's healthy and headstrong. So headstrong, in fact, that as she is emerging into this world through Caroline's geriatric garage, that she tears her from bow to stern. Grade 4 tear. Like so big that when she gets out of the shower naked and walks across the room, like she accidentally picks up dog toys. Yeah, that's my wish.
I know that we all have thoughts that we don't share that are probably inappropriate on a regular basis, but to feel comfortable to go on social media as an RN and wish for immense pain from Carolyn Levitt because she's the spokesperson for President Donald Trump. That was sickening. And they feel comfortable doing that. Then you go up to Minneapolis. Listen, these are people, they're all white, liberal women, right? And they feel comfortable losing their minds shouting at ICE agents.
Be a race traitor?
See, again, y'all are throwing race into all of this. Nobody's throwing race into it.
So these are Hispanic, a lot of these are Hispanic officers, right? And the protesters are calling him a race traitor.
They look. You profile people for how they look and how they speak. Without your mask on and without your little Timu get up, your should be stopped by ICE and you f***ing know it. You guys tried to detain your own person. That's probably because you have the reading level of a 8th grader, my dude.
Why do they all sound the same? Is there a reason why they all sound exactly the same?
It's whatever unhinged sounds like.
Yeah, that's I have to go to Webster Groves here to find out what that is because that's where I usually see it.
Come on. You working for the f***ing government? Like, you think that this is going to save you?
Save me how?
From everything that's going on in this world?
Whether you work for the government.
And do you know that you have to work for ICE? Man who is out there racially profiling other people. That's f***ing sick. In f***ing Germany that I got to carry my f***ing
Yeah, so, listen to this part.
You guys going to make me wear a star like my ancestors?
Listen.
I'm Jewish and Latin American, and I have to deal with this shit. My ancestors were f***ing murdered by Nazis, and now you guys are back doing it all over again.
Okay, see, that's where I had to get that last part in there because you lose all credibility when you make an analogy like that to the situation in Minnesota. Stop it. You sounded like an idiot to begin with, but you closed strong, didn't you?
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got a report of a stall northbound 270 past Ladue Road. Watch for that one in the right lane. And southbound 55 slowing headed down toward Bates in the construction zone. The work zone on eastbound 44 anywhere from Hampton through Grand. Little bit of a slow go there. Westbound 64, slow pockets from Kings Highway out through McCausland and west of Winghaven out through 70. 70 isn't bad out of downtown. A little slow at Jennings Station Road. Southbound 270. Well, we talked about northbound slowing past Ladue Road. Looks like that may have been moved out of the way, the accident. But southbound has moderate volume from Page down past 44. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I want to talk about Game Day Men's Health and a great offer that they have for you here, guys, in the St. Louis area. Matt Lawrence is out at his location in Chesterfield, which is outstanding. It's a man cave-like environment. It's very comfortable. He has an immensely professional staff with a lot of experience. And I want you to book an appointment for the coming weeks. It's an hour appointment. You don't have to take off work or anything like that. They're offering you a free testosterone and PSA test at Game Day Men's Health. So maybe you are interested in optimizing energy levels or restoring overall vitality with balanced testosterone levels. They can help with that. Maybe you have ED issues and you've sought the blue pill and it hasn't worked. They have really good solutions. Medical weight loss is something that they're expert in right now. And then vitamin injections are really, really taking off. And you can get a lot of misinformation about that online. So trust the team at Game Day Men's Health. If you make an appointment for an hour, they get that test done in 20 minutes. They'll have results, and then they'll come up with a plan for you depending on your situation. They're in Chesterfield at Highway 6440 in Clarkson and Olive. Also in O'Fallon. The website is GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Get back to the top of your game with Game Day Men's Health.
It's 2026. Time to get your home zero resified. 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $119 plus a free hallway and 15% off regularly priced services when you mention 97.1 FM Talk. It's ZeroResSTL.com.
Annie Fry here. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They are the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
Wondering if dangerous contaminants are in your home's water? Get Leaf Home Water Solutions today. We can't live without water, but we can take actions today to make it safer and healthier. Leaf Home Water Solutions is offering a free in-home water test. Just visit leafhome.com/free to schedule yours. With results from their advanced digital testing, Leaf Home Water Solutions can design a whole home system and expertly install it in as little as 1 day. With Leaf Home Water Solutions, you can feel confident that each drop of water from every tap and appliance is cleaner and safer for you and your family. We can't live without water, but we can take actions today to make our family's water safer with Leaf Home Water Solutions. Schedule your free home water test today at leafhome.com/free and save 15% on all home water treatment systems. That's leafhome.com/free for your free home water test and 15% off. leafhome.com/free.
St. Louis, laugh it up with Jimmy Fallon live at the Factory on January 24th. From national radio to sold-out comedy clubs, Jimmy delivers fast, fearless stand-up that hits home.
The only ones raising tough kids anymore. The redneck babies are going to take on ISIS. The hipster babies are going to battle the evil forces of gluten. You know what I'm saying?
Grab your friends and get ready for a night of laughs. One show, one night only. Don't miss Jimmy Fallon, January 24th at the Factory. Get your tickets now at thefactorystl.com. That's thefactorystl.com.
KFTK FM Florissant.
An Odyssey station.
Ratcheting down the rhetoric. On Lisa Brady, Fox News. President Trump backing off on tariff threats against Europe, announcing that during a meeting with the head of NATO, a framework was reached for a future deal on Greenland and the Arctic region.
In a Truth Social post, the president did not detail the agreement, but writes, if consummated, it will be a great one for the United States of America and all NATO nations. He also says the breakthrough is enough to hold off on tariffs he had planned to impose on NATO allies, beginning next month. It signals a significant change in tone from the president, as his desire for a U.S. takeover of the Danish territory risked destabilizing the transatlantic alliance.
Fox's Jared Halpern in Washington. The president later telling reporters the deal is still a work in progress, but using words like infinite to describe it.
It's a long-term deal. It's the ultimate long-term deal. I think it puts everybody in a really good position.
Especially, he says, for security and minerals, though he told reporters earlier today Greenland was not needed for anything but security. Right now, China controls most of the world's rare earth minerals, which are critical for modern technology.
We spoke to Critical Metals Corp, a mining exploration and development company with a mine in Greenland. They say developing an ecosystem outside of China is essential for all of the West.
Fox Business's Madison Allworth, the company says they'll be drilling in Greenland in the next 2 years, with the results already spoken for, half for Europe, half for the U.S. Former President Clinton and Hillary Clinton one step closer to a possible criminal probe as the House Oversight Committee advances contempt resolutions over their failure to appear in a Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Some Democrats say it's an effort to steer attention away from not releasing the full Epstein files. 9 Democrats were part of the panel's vote today to advance the contempt resolutions 34-8. America is listening to Fox News.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Let's look for a bit of a changeable sky, a mix of clouds and sunshine, though I think we'll see a fair amount of sun. It's breezy and 44. Tonight, clear skies. It's cold, 24 Thursday. Sunshine dominates, 37 degrees, 12 Thursday night. Friday for a 19. We have a little bit of light snow for late Friday night and Saturday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Martin.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Wednesday afternoon, hour number 2. We have Sue's News coming up here in just a few minutes. Fred's in the room, of course, for that and for this hour.
How about old Fred Bottenheimer over there, ladies and gentlemen?
You know, I saw a picture of Kenny Wallace, a young, handsome, dashing Kenny Wallace today that he posted online. He was so sexy. It must have been like when he was 25 years old or something like that. It was a great picture of him. But that's Kenny, of course, who says that. Our friend Alex Rich is here, who cannot get a smile off of his face after attending the national championship game, seeing his Indiana Hoosiers take the championship.
How about it?
Oh my gosh. We talked to you at the airport yesterday, but he walks in the studio, so you saw he cannot stop smiling.
Yeah.
And I think I would be in the same situation if I were you.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to take it all in. It's unbelievable. It still really hasn't sunk in, you know? And Steve Moore, of course, he said,
our boss.
Yeah, he goes, between you and Ackerman, man, all I see is you guys just smiling all day long. So you will probably get sick of it over the next few weeks.
There you go.
There we go.
My fight song for you.
My walk-up song.
Weeks?
Oh, might last until, honestly, next year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Look, if Mizzou won the national championship, it would last a decade, I think.
Don't you think?
Happy? Yes, I do. Because you got to understand, and you guys are probably the best suited to understand this. I survived, for example, Woody's Wagon and some of the other things that happened in the 80s. And you guys were the most losing school ever, right?
Going into this season, we were the losingest Division I college football team.
Which is incredible.
Football part. Think Northwestern passed us this year.
Oh,
so
did
still
they?
a Big Ten team, but
Yeah.
I mean, I was talking to somebody earlier, and they were like, "Do you really think it could be made into a movie?" And I do really think at one point, no time soon, I don't think. But I think years from now,
I think they will.
They're going to talk about that
Yeah.
that 20, 25, 26 Indiana Hoosier football team because it's such an unlikely story.
No, I think they'll make movies about it in the future because it's incredible. But yeah, it'll have to be a 10-year down the line where people don't remember it.
I think so.
As much. But I think
Yeah.
Well, you never know though. These things sometimes they roll out of Hollywood a lot quicker than you think because they like
Man.
to strike when things are hot.
At the very least, I think you'd agree a 30 for 30 piece from ESPN, no doubt.
One thing I noticed, Ethan, I don't know if you've seen this, and it's on the ESPN app, but I saw it a lot when I was watching Mizzou last night. They were advertising, and this is I thought about this before I saw the ad for it because I'm like, man, I wonder if they had cameras following Indiana. Well, what they're doing on ESPN is they're doing like a big documentary series on the CFP. So what they did is they followed all the teams. And they're doing a multi-part series on the app. I don't think it's going to air on ESPN. Maybe it will.
Okay.
But I think it would be fascinating to see the behind-the-scenes stuff.
Crazy that you bring this up because on the flight home yesterday, I get on and there's this like younger kid there, and as we're boarding the flight, he's already like got his computer fully up, and like I'm seeing like a bunch of videos from the game.
Right.
And of course, I was like curious because he didn't have any like specific school on, but he had like a CFP hat, like a CFP hoodie, and I was like, "Hey, man, I'm gonna be nosy. Like, I see you're working on something for like the game yesterday. Like, what do you do?" So he was like a social video editor for CFP. Like he worked.
Nice.
Not even like working for the NCAA. It's like CFP is its own thing, and so I didn't know that. But now that you mentioned that. He was literally editing together a bunch of clips from all of the different teams that were in the CFP this year. So I wonder if that was like what he was working on.
Based on the promo that I saw, they had a lot of people mic'd up. They were in the locker rooms. So I think it looks fantastic. Of course, the NFL's done a really good job with this on Netflix with, quarterback and with receivers.
Right. NFL Films usually puts out great content, too.
Absolutely. this is where I would fault. I really do fault Major League Baseball. I think the other sports are doing a much better job of giving fans insights into players' personalities. I talked about this a couple years ago when I watched Receiver on Netflix, and I don't know if they ever did a second season, but, there were guys that you love to hate. As a Packers fan, I don't like Justin Jefferson on your team, right? But then I got to know Justin Jefferson in that show and how cool he was, and it gives you a different perspective and a different appreciation for the players. I think it happened with Hard Knocks with Aaron Rodgers when he was on the Jets, even though that was kind of a failed experiment from a bunch of different perspectives. By the way, did I see Saleh got a head coaching job?
Yeah, with the Titans.
Yeah, so that was his coach at the Jets before he was fired. But you got to see a different part of Aaron Rodgers. And a lot of people don't like Aaron Rodgers. It was a very likable side of Aaron Rodgers.
Right. Yeah, I think the baseball does need to do more with that because you looked at the full swing, the golf.
Yeah, that's good too.
The quarterback one, you learn that like Kirk Cousins is like the greatest guy, like just the most normal dude.
Fascinating.
Goes through like the Burger King or something on the way home from.
And then
a
you
game.
learn that Joe Burrow is about as weird as you ever thought he was.
He's an odd dude.
Let me ask Alex, who did you go to the game with? Remind us.
So my buddy Victor Oladipo, and he played in the NBA for a while.
Way to flex, bro.
Yeah, he was college player. He's actually in the Indiana University Hall of Fame. And then Christian Watford, who hit the infamous Watt shot against Kentucky when Kentucky was undefeated in 2011, and it pretty much got IU basketball back on track for those next few years. I'd say now we're the trains have fallen a little bit off the tracks here, but. We're focused on football right now.
School. You're a football school now. That's what I always say.
That's who we went to the game with.
What was it like being at the game with them? I mean, did people recognize them, obviously?
Yes, for sure. And it was different because usually when we go somewhere, like you could pull right up to kind of where you're going. You don't have to walk through too many like crowds of like the full-on tailgates and like the lines and all this stuff. But they were literally making everybody go like no matter who you were, like there were ESPN analysts walking in the same gates that we were a lot of the time because the Secret Service was there, because the president was there.
That's right.
And so you couldn't get even a mile, like basically almost a mile within the stadium without a ticket, because there was like 5 different checkpoints. So going into why I couldn't call my buddy to sneak me in, you had to go through like 5 different checkpoints. Each one was a turnstile, so you had to walk directly through it. It locked after each person. And you had to do that like I think it was 4 times I scanned my ticket to get in. But where I'm going with that is you had to walk through a lot of crowds because we couldn't just get dropped off. So we couldn't. It took us like an hour and a half to get into the stadium because on top of all that, yes, you had all the Indiana fans that were like looking at us like, oh my God, can I get a picture? Because those guys cannot go 2 steps seriously without getting stopped at an Indiana event.
I don't know.
Like it'd be like if it'd almost be like if Yadier Molina was walking through like I don't know a crowded Mardi Gras street of Cardinal fans.
And I don't know Christian, but you've introduced me to Vic. But just even if you don't know who he is, he's an imposing figure because he's so big and athletic.
Christian's even taller. Christian's 6'9".
Woo.
And
they stand out.
But dude, and I tell them sometimes like yes, like they're a little too nice because it's like you got to just pick the pace up and walk a little bit faster. But they don't tell anybody no. They really don't.
Well,
but it changes somebody's. So like not only you're at the national championship game, but like I tell them this. I'm like, think about it like this. You're at a dream of an event and your idols like that you see walk by, and a simple like picture or hello or head nod from those guys to the general fan that was there literally changes those people's lives forever. Like they tell that story for the rest of their life. We went to the national championship game and met Victor Oladipo. Like it was unbelievable.
So,
and it's such an easy task. So I get that's why it like does take a while because they're nice guys. They don't say no.
But listen,
Schwarber was there.
This is a great tie-in here to what you just said, and I wanted to play this audio this afternoon because I'm a fan of Landman. It just wrapped up. I love Billy Bob. I've interviewed him a couple of times. And I met him at a Critics' Choice Awards about 10 years ago. I've told this story. It was great because I went up to him and said, hey, Bill, have you been to a Cardinals game? And we just started talking, and it was awesome. And he was so nice, right? And I've had really positive engagements with a lot of people from Hollywood. But a lot of people, they don't want to take the time to do that. But listen to what he said here because I think that this really matches up with the story that you just told.
And they say, why don't you take pictures with everybody and stand there and talk to a woman whose son's in dental school for a half an hour? Here's the reason, because they put my kids through school. And so you owe it to them. You really do. And anybody who doesn't come out of their trailer, because they're upset about, I don't want to say that line or whatever it is. Yeah. Or if they ignore the fans and walk past them like they mean nothing, I think that's a bad thing for our business. And so I make sure that I do that. Not bragging on myself. I'm just saying I think I owe that.
And he's genuine.
Yeah.
And I know that because we had a great conversation. It was a great interview. And by the way, Billy grew up in Arkansas listening to Camo X when he was a kid, and he's a big Cardinals fan because of that. But that's so encouraging to hear from a big star because he's right?
Oh, totally. And it's like, if people are supporting you and what you do and they care enough about you to come up to you and like are a fan of yours, then like why not? What's stopping you?
Right.
That's why it is surprising a lot of these people don't do it.
Yeah, this is why we have heavy security during Fish Fry Fridays for Sue Thomas. Because
I know. Well, it happens.
These things get out of control.
I want to know how many people saw Alex. I'm like, oh my gosh, is that the Alex Rich that backed up Kyle Schwarber?
There were a couple. Honestly,
was Schwarber there?
Schwarber was there for sure. It is funny because you say that like I was walking a little bit, and yes, like because I'm friends with those two guys. More people just happen to know me, and I don't know who some of these people are.
Right.
Like, I don't know. They're just I'm just like the little white Jewish dude that hangs out with the crew. Like, you know what I mean?
That's fair.
If we're being honest with ourselves, right?
Calling it like it is.
So there was probably like I would say, I don't know, 5 or 6 people that I had no clue who they were, and they were like, "Alex, what's up, man? Like, how you been? Haven't seen them since college or whatever." But they still remember me, so I'll take it.
Maybe they listened to you on the Mark.
Actually,
show.
One guy did come up and say, we were out in Miami. This was crazy.
Okay.
We were out in Miami, and this guy goes, we're somewhere. I don't even know where we were at. He goes, dude, you're the guy on the podcast, right? And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, dude, the Jews in the loo or whatever, like the podcast thing, like, he's like, I have seen it before. Like, he's like, I live in Indiana, small town Indiana. But
You're
like,
kidding me.
He's
So he wasn't even from
he's
here.
like, but it's come up on my like social media before, and like, he's like, dude, so random. You looked familiar, but I see this stuff. I'm
The
like,
last
I'll
thing-
take it,
the
man.
last thing
I
we
signed
need-
an autograph.
Yeah, see, this is my point. The last thing we need is your ego to be stroked any further. Sue's News is coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, we've got some volume out there. If you are driving or will be on eastbound 44, there was an accident past Shrewsbury, and that created a delay in that area. But it made things open up a bit at Hampton, where we've got road work, and that's causing delays. Westbound 40 is slow go approaching Kings Highway out through McCausland. Eastbound is slow at 270, and then westbound from Highway N out through 70. 70 westbound slowing at Jennings Station Road and at an accident near Lindbergh. Then things open up a bit. Southbound 170 slowing, headed down for 64. And southbound 270, it's mainly moderate volume, but it's approaching Olive in pockets down past 44. And let's see, westbound Highway 30, a little slow at Gravois Bluffs. That's not a surprise. 55 slowing at Bates. And if you're headed into Illinois, we're fine on the bridges, but it's a little slow on the approach to the Poplar. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. You don't hear fast-talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Lance Drury Law Firm primarily focuses on one thing, IRS problems, and we're regulated by the Bar Association, and we have a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. IRS issues are serious legal issues. The Lance Drury Law Firm has helped thousands of clients navigate the best resolution plans, and we tell you up front exactly how much it'll cost. Tax resolution law is all we do. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure salesperson, give us a call at the Lance Drury Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Call today to schedule your free consultation with me, 314-260-6120, or visit LanceDruryLaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Have you been outside when the weather's nice, not when it's really, really cold? You looked at the siding of your home and you said, we got to do something about that in 2026. So this is the time to do something. Be first in line for spring for James Hardy Fiber Cement Siding with Banner Construction. Maybe you're looking at energy-efficient windows. You're feeling all that cold air seep in right now. Well, they're a certified pellet contractor for over 30 years. They started in 1993 here in St. Louis. They've been just blowing people away, creating neighborhood showpieces. They have a great team, and they'd love to see you, and it's a free in-home design consultation and written estimate. Fall in love with your home again. See Banner's work at bannerconstruction.com or call 314-569-1050 and have a banner day. Banner Construction.
This station is now conducting a test of the emergency alert system. This is only a test.
DIYers like you like to say, I got this. Need to paint a bathroom? I got this. Whoops, was that a load-bearing wall? Got this! But what about rewiring a hot main or routing 120 amps to an outlet? Nope, not this. Great answer. In general, treating electrical problems like rattlesnakes is smart. Deciding to call Jerry Kelly to handle them or to perform a $49 electrical safety check, that's wisdom. Served with some sweet, preventative peace of mind.
JerryKelly.com.
Hey everyone, I'm Josh Radner, and I am so excited to tell you about How We Made Your Mother, a rewatch podcast looking back at How I Met Your Mother. And I'm here with Craig Thomas, who co-created the show along with Carter Bays. Hi, Craig.
Hey, Josh. Somehow it has been 20 years since the show premiered. I'm going to check the math on that. 10 years since it went off the air, and we thought that made this a perfect time to look back, see what the hell we did, and why the show still seems to resonate with fans around the world today.
Follow and listen to How We Made Your Mother wherever you get your podcasts.
The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Wednesday afternoon. I had to think about that just a little bit because of the holiday. I wasn't quite sure, but yeah, the week going by quickly. We have a big winter storm moving in for the weekend. We're going to keep you posted on that, but we got to take care of this afternoon.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
Well, it's a big day. I want to wish you happy National Hugging Day. International Sweatpants Day, which,
okay.
All right. Museum Selfie Day. And the most I've seen of that goes on at the Louvre in front of the Mona Lisa.
What was it?
People with taking museum selfies, and there's a sea of people.
It's specific to museum selfies?
Yes. Not just your average selfie.
It's, not even selfie day. Museum
Selfie Day. And finally, Squirrel Appreciation Day, which I definitely do not do. Fred, do you appreciate the squirrels?
Not at all.
What do you have against, why do you hate squirrels?
Well, they're in everything. Anything you plant. I used to put...
do you love them or you think they're cute?
I like them, yeah. I don't have any issue with them.
I don't love squirrels.
See, I don't either. I would plant like a nice tomato plant. They would take one bite and throw the tomato down, and that was it. They were thirsty.
So my friend Mike Fitzgerald, who lives in your old neighborhood, and at this point I can just say, Fitz, right?
Oh, yeah.
So he would get so annoyed by the squirrels that he may or may not have been taking them out with a BB gun, right? So at one point, this is a true story, he shoots the squirrel, and the squirrel is in agony, and it's actually making a sound.
No.
And Mama Squirrel comes from out of nowhere and attacks Fitz.
Good.
Because of the... I knew you'd support that. Yeah, how about
Fitz
that?
had it coming.
Yes, he did have it coming. Because the baby squirrel was in jeopardy. Mama wasn't going to let that happen. So.
Take that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, on this day in history, 67 years ago, it's 1959 when Carl Switzer, who played Alfalfa on The Little Rascals, was shot and killed by a former business partner it was over an argument about $50.
Really?
And he was only in his 30s. It was really a sad story.
I think if you would have, asked me and locked me in a room and said, "Can you name the kid who played Alfalfa?" There's no way I would have come up with that name. I do kind of recollect that story, but yeah, that's crazy that he was so young.
Okay, and I hadn't ever heard this story. Now, I know this part. 60 years ago, in 1966, George Harrison married his first wife, Patty Boyd, and they had met on the set of the movie A Hard Day's Night. She left him in the 70s for Eric Clapton. Okay, but here's what I didn't know. In her autobiography, Wonderful Tonight, Patty says that while she was still married to George, Eric Clapton showed up at the house one night drunk. George handed him a guitar, took one up himself, and they proceeded to engage in a 2-hour guitar duel for Patty's honor.
How about
she
that?
said, guess who won? Eric Clapton.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The good old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
Well,
I
could see that. He would be the clear winner, but wow.
I never had heard that.
That's fun.
47 years ago today, in 1979, my Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Cowboys 35-31. It was Super Bowl 13, but I bring this up because they were the first team to win 3 Super Bowls, and Terry Bradshaw became MVP.
Who are the Cowboys?
Yeah.
They haven't won since, have they?
I didn't look that up, but it doesn't feel like
Cowboys
it.
won in the 90s, didn't they, one time?
Did they? They're annoying. Sorry.
Were the Steelers always your team?
From when I was a little kid.
So you grew up in Pennsylvania?
My dad was from there, or went to school there. My parents grew up in Pennsylvania, but then my dad had gone to school in Pittsburgh specifically.
By the way, 1994, they played the Bills. They beat them. 1996, they played the Steelers, and they beat them. That's the last Super Bowl win.
Ah, there you go. And this is the only music from today. But 42 years ago today, in 1984, Bon Jovi released their very first album.
I don't know why this is resonating with me so much, but this kind of puts us in the same time frame. When you said that was only the 13th Super Bowl, that just kind of blew my mind. Right? Because they had just started.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, this was a huge song. It still is a huge song.
It's just bizarre to me that was 42 years
Yeah.
ago.
It's
I'm
kind
trying
of
to
bothering me
overlook
right
that.
now. Yes.
Yeah, it's just mind-boggling. All right, and then I have some random Hollywood stuff for you. There was so much that I just picked out a little, but this is bizarre. Okay, William Shatner is how old, Alex? Do you recall?
I actually think I know the answer to this. He's like, I want to say he's like 93 years old.
He is 94.
Yep. Okay, I was close.
I was going to say 90, so I would have been off, but I knew he was in the 90s.
Well, 94-year-old William Shatner was photographed driving around L.A. while eating a bowl of cereal. They have a picture of him up at a light. He's got a bowl and a... What are you doing?
Honestly, doesn't he seem like he's like, I don't know, 70-something?
Yes!
94 is like pretty shocking.
Yes, and he's driving himself and a bowl of cereal. Where do you put it when you drive away?
One of the strangest interviews I've ever done.
Really?
Was he weird or what?
Yeah, he was weird because he's weird.
Yeah.
I mean, he was weird in a good way. Fred,
Yeah,
this was when
right.
it wasn't in person, it was on the phone, but he was coming to one of like the Comic-Con things.
Right.
He was challenging, I'll put it that way.
Was he, did he take it a different direction? What kind of weird
I think what
was
I would
he?
say is he was just being Bill Shatner. If you follow him on Twitter, he likes, well, I don't know if he does it as much, but he used to, and this is just a few years ago, he would really poke people and engage on Twitter. No, he was just being Bill Shatner is the only thing I would say.
Huh, fair enough. A documentary
I call
on...
him Bill, you understand
Well,
that.
of course,
okay,
your best
just
friend.
Make that clear, yeah.
A documentary on Martin Short called Marty, Life is Short is coming to Netflix in May.
I love it.
I kind of love him, too.
Yeah. He's great.
And Nielsen says that Christmas of 2025 was the biggest streaming day ever in the U.S.
What was it?
This past Christmas.
And they
on
think
Christmas Day.
Well, they say Christmas of 2025. I don't know if that includes Christmas Eve, but they say Stranger Things in the NFL obviously had a lot to do with it. But that's a huge milestone. And Vanna White has announced that she got married. She's 68. She married her longtime boyfriend, John Donaldson. They just announced it today. I don't know if she married him today or whether it was over the weekend. But
Had
there
she
you go.
been previously married?
Yeah, she has
Okay.
2 kids.
Okay.
Really?
And one of her fiancés died in an accident, and then she married this guy and was married to him for 12 years, and then something else. But this guy she's been dating for a while.
You know a lot about Vanna White, don't you?
It took me down the rabbit hole.
You didn't have
I was
that
like,
pulled
was
up
she,
on the
yeah.
on your computer. You didn't have seriously. She didn't have any of that in front of her. It's a Vanna White encyclopedia.
It's because I read that and I thought, has she ever been married before? All right, I love this story. Okay, let's see if I can get it in. Gen Zers have been tossing around a new term. Instead of doppelganger, it's choppelganger. I love this so much. Now, if you have a choppelganger, it's your doppelganger, only uglier. Okay?
That's
For
funny.
example,
That's fun.
Ellen DeGeneres is a choppelganger of Joe Montana. Think about it.
Okay, I can see that.
There's another one. Steve Martin, a choppelganger of the old man from Up.
Oh, that's true.
Robert Plant, a choppelganger of the Cowardly Lion from The Wizard of Oz. Think about it. Think about
the
it.
hair for sure.
So, I thought maybe Fred could use that.
Oh, yeah.
At the dinner table.
I will. Choppelganger.
And finally, in Sue's News, we have today's random fact. Refried beans are only fried once. The name comes from a mistranslation of the Spanish name frijoles refritos, which means well-fried beans.
I'm Dan Loney with Your Money Now. President Trump has met with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte today, and they have formed, quote, the framework of a future deal with respect to Greenland, end quote. As a result of the negotiation, President Trump said he will no longer impose punitive tariffs starting February 1st on a group of European countries. Wall Street turned sharply higher on that news. Dow Industrial's up 588 points, ending the day at 49,770. The Nasdaq picked up 270 points. The S&P 500 added 79. Johnson & Johnson predicted 2026 profit above Wall Street expectations, even with a drug deal with the White House to cut costs for consumers. That deal will cost the pharma hundreds of millions of dollars, but it still expects operational sales this year between $99.5 and $100.5 billion. And the Mortgage Bankers Association reports that the average 30-year fixed mortgage fell to 6.16% this week. That's Your Money Now.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter. Most people spend decades saving for retirement. We know to do that. But then when you get closer to retirement, you start to think, wait a minute, do I know how to make this money last for the entirety of my retirement? It's got to take me through my entire life. And if you do not have a written financial plan in place, how in the world do you know if that money will last? This is why I like financial and tax architects, because their idea is, okay, let's start with educating people on kind of how the entire system works. Here's how taxes work in retirement. Here's kind of a way to beat that. Here's how you can make it better. Here's what you're looking for. And it's a one-night class called Retirement Planning 101. I mean, at the very least, you will learn stuff that you need to know. At the most, you'll say, oh, gosh, these guys are great. I want them to come up with that financial plan with me. So go ahead and call and reserve a spot. It's a free class, but you have to reserve. 314-888-5101, 314-888-5101.
SSM Health welcomes the St. Louis Golf Expo January 30th through February 1st at St. Charles Convention Center. Buy big brands with Pro-Am Golf, test your skills, and win prizes while they last. VIP tickets at stlgolfexpo.com.
License number E2014A.
Hey, it's good to see you.
You know, there's a certain way we do things around here, the Grasser way.
The Grasser way?
We don't cut corners and we don't take shortcuts. Not on the little stuff and not on the big stuff.
We do the big stuff.
That's right. Whole home generators that kick on the moment the grid gives up. Lights stay on, heat stays on, your family stays safe, so your house stays warm.
And your ice cream stays frozen.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
4:33. This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Midwest Made. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Hey, Fred, I think it was producer emeritus David Klein who used to do spelling bees, right?
Yeah.
He had admitted that, so he was like our expert speller. So I'm very proud of my daughter, Alexa Reardon, who is about to turn 11 here in a couple of months, and she was only one of 3 kids in her class to volunteer for the spelling bee at Stanton Elementary. So we've been kind of doing some practicing, and
good.
Quite candidly, she wasn't practicing very well, and she was being really goofy and kind of silly. And I'm like, Alexa, you got to take this seriously. And she would laugh. Well, anyway, today they did like a practice round, and she got her word, and she did okay. Well, she got knocked out of the first round on the word asleep, which she knows how to spell, but she just kind of reversed the letters, and they don't get to write them down,
Nope,
right? So, but I was proud of her because, look, that's not an easy thing to do. I guarantee you when I was in 5th grade, I wouldn't have got up in front of a bunch of kids and parents.
What? We
and done
had
anything.
to. Didn't
No.
you have to?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You had to as in what
Yeah.
way?
There was no option. You all had to get up in front and do the spelling bee.
I don't think I remember
got to
that.
the finals in my grade school.
Wow.
That's
Same.
as far as I got.
Same.
And I went out on the word chocolate.
So did I.
That was one of the
put
words
a
this
K in
morning.
it.
That was one of the
Yeah.
words this morning.
Oh, my
So
gosh.
look, I don't remember things, so maybe that was the case. But anyway, she gets knocked out in the first round. But here's why I bring this up. Because the Dr. Starnes, who I love, she's the principal at Stanton Elementary, she was reading the words, and this is sort of a qualifier for the Scripps spelling bee. They go to the next competition and the regional or whatever. So they try to follow the rules, right? So at one point, she says, well, there are 2 spellings that are acceptable for this word. I'm like, okay. So the word is surprise. Would you guys like to take a stab at spelling the word surprise?
Surprise. What is the other one?
That is correct. Would anyone else like to say what the other one was?
I don't know that
Exactly.
There
There's not.
isn't one.
Exactly. That's my point. So I asked Dr. Starnes, and here's the answer that I got. With the Scripps National Spelling Bee, they will accept modern and archaic 18th and 19th century spellings of words.
Oh.
So if a student would have spelled it Surprize, they would not have been penalized.
What?
I think that's a rip.
Me too, but she was just following.
I thought you were going to say like you could take out maybe the first R
because
and
no
it's
one
just
says
like
the R.
surprise.
That's what I thought. So I'm sitting there at the deal and I'm Googling it and I'm still not figuring it out. And I do see the spelling with the Z, but apparently that's weird though, isn't it?
That's crazy.
Okay.
That's like I think that's because like that's how it started with texting. I think that sounds like a texting way to say surprise.
Maybe it is. All right, so Alex, I have another story, and I haven't even told Fred and Sue about this. I think it's cool because I love music. I think the audience will like this. If you love music, you're going to love this story. And Alex, since you are a musician and you play around town and you play at Busch Stadium, I think you really like this story. So I think, Fred, you know this. I used to go, my dear friend John and Cindy Lynch here in St. Louis, they do something called break room concerts.
They're great.
Fred and Alex have been to them. Sometimes they
Yeah.
take place at Forest Hills Country Club, sometimes at a different venue, and they bring people who aren't extremely well known, but artists that would play like the Duck Room or something like that. You know, they'd fill 350, 500 people, and they brought them into St. Louis. And some of these are touring musicians that play around the planet. Some of them are just local folks, like my friend Kevin Babb and Emily Wallace, who's a great musician. So what John did when he turned 50 10 years ago, he's like, I want to do this music festival down in Todos Santos, Mexico, which is north of Cabo. So he takes people down there, and I was not on the first trip. He brought Kevin Nashin, who's an outstanding chef from here in St. Louis, and they created kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, I want to do it even bigger next year. So we had, when I say we, John does all this, we had like 80 people down there the second year, and there was kids, families too, and all these great musicians. So you hang out on the beach. It's a little surfing community, Cerritos Beach near Todos, and everyone has a great time. And then you eat dinner, and the musicians just start to play. And then what got even better is after whatever musician would play, they'd start to jam with the other musicians. And, you know, late at night, it would get really, really cool. And I'm so impressed and inspired by people that can just ease in with no effort whatsoever and play. There's a guy in town, his name is Jim Peters. And if you're a musician in St. Louis, you know Jim Peters. And he is a great guitar player. And I've seen him just move into playing a song with someone that he's never met and never played with and just freaking nails it. And it's like, oh, you guys rehearsed that. Nope, he just did it. So we've got a friend by the name of Tony Oros. And Tony is kind of a cover guy, right? And he's from Salt Lake City, I think. But he hangs down. He's kind of a free spirit. He hangs down in Todos a lot because he's got some gigs down there. So he's got a regular Tuesday night gig at a place called Plaza Amina in Todos Santos. And John sent me the text, shared the story. He says it's an open-air plaza with a bar, restaurant, and some shops. Apparently, Peter Buck, who has a house close by, heard Tony last week and liked what he heard. Now, I've always heard two rumors, that Peter Buck, who is the lead guitar player for R.E.M., with Michael Stipe, lived in Todos, and that John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin lived there. Never confirmed, but that was something that people had always said. So, Peter Buck heard Tony, and he walks into this bar last night with two friends named John and David. As soon as they walk in, John says, Cindy said, I think that's a musician. And John says, it could be Peter Buck. He's got a place somewhere in town. So they Google it. They confirm it, right? So Cindy, his wife, introduces herself, tells Peter how much R.E.M.'s music meant to her and to John. Now, Tony was on a break at the time. So he's doing his little cover gig, and he's got this drummer, Ramon, who Tony calls the Russian percussion, that tells Tony they should play the R.E.M. song that they had rehearsed. So here's what it sounds like here. And that I only have a short clip of that, but that's the one I love, which is a huge hit by R.E.M. So this is a random thing when he says play the R.E.M. song, right? Totally unprompted and random. Neither Tony or Ramon knew that Peter Buck was in the audience. Meantime, Peter asked Tony if he's done for the night. Tony, oblivious to who he's talking to, says, give me 5 minutes and we'll be back up on stage. So they get back from the break. They start with the song, The One I Love. Peter jumps up and grabs Cindy and said, well, we've got to dance. And I have video of them dancing. It's incredible. The song ends. Peter walks up to Tony and says, nice job. Can I get your number? I live in town. We should jam sometime. Tony says, sure. A few songs later, Peter and his crew say goodbye to us and head down the street. After Tony finishes the song, I walked up to him and said, you know that was Peter Buck from REM. He had no idea.
Oh, wow.
He had no idea.
Awesome.
That's
and
sweet.
Peter Buck's like, hey, you want to jam? And Tony's a super, super talented guy. He can do, it's funny because he admits that he doesn't write his own music. He doesn't play his own music. I mean, he gets paid to play other people's music, but he's really good at it. And the amount of songs that he can pull out of his head, Alex,
That's awesome.
as someone who kind of does that
because that's
too.
what I do. Yeah, I do that. But it's like the more songs you know, the better you're in that position when you play another covers. Like you want to play the ones that people know, that people like, that they'll come up and request. Like I think that's what sets you apart. So that's an awesome story.
I mean,
that's been like one of my dreams, that like somebody, like one of those people. Well, let's use this local example. Did you see the video that went viral a couple months ago because a band downtown was playing a TLC song?
Yes.
Yes. So like, how awesome is that when that happens? You know.
Yeah,
And
who was
what
that?
happened?
It was a singer, and she was at Broadway Oyster
Yeah.
Bar, and they were driving by after their show, and they had the
Heard
windows down.
heard her performing their song, and they
Yes.
walked in and surprised her on stage.
Wow.
So I think that'd be like one of the coolest things that you could that could ever happen
really
to you when you're
cool.
performing,
Well,
for sure.
I think it's great that happened last night, and I wish I were there to see it. So here's a story that is not going to make you as happy, just because it's just disgusting when you think about it. I was unfamiliar with this, but there's this cool thing up on social media that a little girl who's now 4 years old, her name is Reese Donatelli, has been going on social media with her dad, picking NFL winners for the weekend, right? So I guess they started this sort of just as a little playful thing to do. It's called Trust the Toddler. And it started a few years ago when Donatelli, the father, was looking to share the joy of football with his daughter, who was just an infant at the time. So he buys NFL mini helmets on Amazon as a way to help Reese learn colors and geography and introduce her to the game that he loves and he grew up with his father. And you'll like this, Sue. He's a big Steelers fan. So
Yay.
First he places the helmets in front of her. She picks one up and she chucks it across the room. I said, you know what? We might have something here. It just clicked. I would put the matchups of who's going to play, so the two helmets are in front of her. And for the past 4 years, she's been calling football games, and she's been pretty darn good at it. So here's what it sounds like.
Bronco! No. Buffalo! 49ers! Patriots!
I mean, beyond cute, right? Well, so she didn't do so well during the first weekend of playoff games, and she starts to get death threats and stuff like that.
What?
What?
Yeah. Dad says, so she didn't do, her picks weren't as good as she usually is, and Donatelli says it's nuts. She's obviously not an NFL analyst.
Hello.
She's picking teams based on the color of her dress, or she'll pick the
Yes.
Packers because she likes cheese. She just relates to these silly things as reasons why she picks certain teams. Now, Cardi B plays a role here, and it's not a real good one. I think she was joking, but what happened is, and she dates Stephon Diggs. So during an Instagram Live, Cardi B says, that little white girl said we were going to win. F that B. Before immediately apologizing and say, I didn't mean to say that. Now, in the end, the prediction that the Patriots would win was correct, by the way, because New England did beat Houston. But the dad's being pretty cool about it. He says, look, that was unfortunate, but I'm not here to fight fire with fire. I'm not angry. We don't want anyone to ruin what Reese and I have created and how we bond. But my goodness, people are insane. I mean, take a step back.
That's a little nutty.
Come on.
People are too. That's when you know the betting's gone a little bit too far, maybe, right?
Exactly.
Well, it's interesting you say that, Alex, because you know that I'm a proponent of gaming, and I have been for a while, but there's stuff that's happening right now, and there's Fred, I don't think I mentioned this, there's a piece in the Free Press today about, this road that we've gone down, and I'm worried mainly, I guess I convince myself because I'm older and more mature now, and I've made a lot of mistakes throughout the course of my life. And I used to gamble quite a bit, like 30 years ago, when I didn't have the money to gamble. So I should have thought about this.
Right.
I have the money to gamble now, but I don't do it very often. I really don't, even with the new gaming. but it really can suck some people in, and these young men and women in particular, because you can bet we were doing some stuff over the weekend with the football games, and it's fun to do, but you can also see how it can get completely out of control.
It is. You make a great point, because I will say, because obviously I was talking a lot of football this last week, and it's incredible to me how many people, I would say my age or around my age, in almost every sports conversation you have with these people,
they're talking about wagering.
It's who did you bet, or what's the spread, or it is. Yeah. And I'm not really a betting person myself either, and it's like, I don't even know half of the terminology that they're using when it comes to talking about this. I know the over under type thing. I know what the spread is, but it's some of these people, it's just it's kind of find another hobby at times. Honestly, who's got time for it?
Well, apparently a lot of people have time for it, and that's what kind of shocked me with the story that was in. I'll have to see who wrote this, because I was going to bring this to Fred's attention and maybe try to get the guy on, because it was quite staggering, some of the information and the the numbers that he brought to the table in the piece. We'll take a break. We're coming back with more.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got some volume out there. If you are westbound on 70, a slow go at Jennings Station Road, and we are jammed. There was an accident westbound 70 at Lindbergh in the left lane, and a jam that goes back through the inner belt. Westbound 6440, the usual volume, and that's approaching Kings Highway out through McCausland, slowing at 270, and then Lake St. Louis Boulevard through 70. Now, 44 is pretty slow tonight. And that's kind of in both directions, really, between Hampton and Grand. Southbound 270, slow pockets approaching Olive down through 44. 55 is pretty slow, headed for Bates. And eastbound 64 is lined up. It looks like it's near 15th Street, 14th Street to the Poplar, but it's not bad on the bridge itself. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
We're about to make this thing happen, St. Louis. It's your main man, Jimmy Fala, and I am coming to the factory right in Chesterfield. It is this Saturday. So come join me. Tickets are on sale at 971talk.com/events. It is this Saturday.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Why should you hire America's largest injury law firm for your case? There's lots of reasons. Just like there's a reason millions of people called us last year in their time of need. When it comes to fighting for justice and compensation, millions of people across the country trust us to go to battle for them. We became the largest injury law firm in the world for a reason. There's only one Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com. Injured? Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Extreme cold weather coming in through St. Louis this mid-January probably. If you're having issues with your furnace, give me a call. If you were told you need a new furnace, without a question, give me a call. You'll be happy you did. We're all the same when it comes to buying a furnace and air conditioner, just like with pretty much anything else. If you're like me, I want a furnace that heats, and in the heat of summer, I want an air conditioner that works. Pretty much simple. So is a more high-efficient air conditioner or more high-efficient furnace give me more heat, more cooling? No, it doesn't at all. It gives you the exact same. So with that being said, you need to call me. Bart Inman, one easy number, Missouri and Illinois, 314-293-2600. Again, 314-293-2600, or you can do the online thing, and it's Bart Inman, Bart with a B, Inman with an I.com. God bless.
Now that we're getting older, we've been putting more thought into maintaining our health.
We knew the water we drink every day could be filled with contaminants, so
we called Leaf Home Water Solutions.
They came to our home and did a free water test and gave us the analysis right away.
We were shocked at what we saw.
They found heavy metals like iron and copper.
Our own tap water was putting our health at risk, but Leaf Home Water Solutions made it easy to get safer water from every tap and hose. A whole home solution.
They have more than 250 product combinations and designed a system that fits our needs and budget. The installation took less than a day.
With Leaf Home Water Solutions, our water is safer and healthier. When we drink, when we cook, when we shower, even when we garden.
We feel better about our health.
Thanks to Leaf Home Water Solutions.
Schedule your free home water test today at leafhome.com/free and save 15% on all home water treatment systems. That's leafhome.com/free for your free home water test and 15% off. leafhome.com/free.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's best eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Mark Reardon is St. Louis conservative.
It's Wednesday afternoon. We're hanging out here in the studio. Fred Bottomer, the Hall of Famer, Sue Thomas, Alex Rich hanging with us on a Wednesday. Ethan Hannaford as well.
I think when you refer to me now, for at least the next few weeks, it should be national champion. I'm not even part of the team, but I feel like I'm part of the team, so I want to go by national champion Alex Rich.
Okay.
If that's okay with you.
Well, I don't know.
College football national champion Alex Rich.
But that's not what you are.
Yeah, see, you just sat in the
But I
stands.
feel like I'm part of the team.
How about
you do, but you're
national
not.
champion alum.
Yeah.
National champion alum.
Oh,
Something like
that's
that.
good, Fred.
That's why he's the Hall of Fame.
National champion
That's
adjacent.
exactly-
Yeah, a national champion adjacent.
over there, ladies and gentlemen.
That's exactly right. So apparently I just scared the hell out of my daughter because this is so weird and I don't know what to do about it. I love my technology, except sometimes it goes wrong. So I have, you guys have been in my basement with my sound system. I have, with my movie stuff and my TV, I have two subwoofers, right? I have one on the right and on the left. I have a JL audio sub, both of them. I love them. They're my favorites. Good subwoofers, ladies and gentlemen, can even off the sound. It's not just a thumping, right? Well, my left sub has been clipping out. So maybe I can play this on the phone. What it does is, and I don't know what's causing this. I've rebooted it, and I'm very worried. It's just going boop, 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 like the speaker.
Yeah, that's not good.
So here, listen. This is what Becky just sent me. She might. Hopefully, she doesn't cuss here.
Okay, so it started and now it's not stopping.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it's kind of scary because it's like thump, 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 thump.
Yeah.
And turning the volume down on the TV does not help. So there's a little switch that you got to switch off. And it's weird because it's not being triggered by like a bassy part or a big explosion in a movie or show. It's like when ESPN is talking about football, all of a sudden it goes off. The good news is I really could go down to one sub if I need to, but the sound room that I loved back in the day, they convinced me to go to two subs, and I love the sound of it. So it's making weird noises.
Tough.
It's not a cheap subwoofer, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you that. So replacing
Well,
it
good luck
probably
to
not
you.
an option.
Do you have insurance on it? Like
You know, I
your
should, Fred.
headphones?
But you know, it's not. It's 10 years old, and that kind of pisses me off. This is a company that really specializes more in marine audio, like audio for boats.
Yeah,
if you will.
why- well,
But
that's
they're-
interesting.
Well, but they have great subwoofers, and they have a great reputation for
Or
that.
do
so,
they?
Well, okay, Sue, that's actually a good point. I'm going to have to ask the question.
Sue's onto something.
Sue, have you ever burped your house?
No, tell me what that means.
Have you ever heard about it before?
No.
Okay, so it's called house burping. Fred, you familiar?
No.
Alex,
Yeah.
are you familiar?
Yeah, I do it all the time.
No, you don't.
I do.
Do you know what it is?
I do it quite often, I think. Yeah,
Okay,
you give
you
the
tell me.
windows. I think it's just every once in a while you give the windows a little crack open to let some fresh air in and out.
We do that a lot.
It smells a little musty in there
Yeah.
at times. I think maybe
Look at
once a
you.
week. Once a week,
Look
I'd
at
say I
you.
crack some windows at least.
But here's the deal. If you were German, you'd be doing it several times a day.
A day?
What? Seriously. So this is where I find, different cultures, and I'm sure that they find our culture very, very weird. But this is a mandated, they say it's a mandated German practice of airing out homes. But here's what's interesting. No matter the season, right? And now it's kind of taken off here because of social media. So Aaron Weiner, who wrote the article, excuse me, a little coughing there. The Washington Post said, after moving to Berlin from Honolulu, Wyatt Gordon was surprised when his new German roommate marched into his bedroom at 8 a.m. and threw open the windows. It turned out that his cohabitant, Laura, maintained a strict ventilation regime. 3 times a day at precise times, all the windows in the apartment needed to be opened. It didn't matter whether it was the dead of winter or a weekend morning, or if Gordon had company. Rules were rules. He says, I had men and women in my bed that I brought home from the club or wherever. I guess you like both, huh? We learned something there. Only to be, that part I missed earlier, only to be woken up an hour later by a blast of ice cold air. How do you explain to the person laying in bed next to you that this is what the German culture demands of us when we're having a threesome? I guess I'll throw that line in there in the end. So it's Luften, meaning airing out or ventilation. Rain or shine, hot or cold. And by the way, it was snowing a couple of days ago in Germany. It can be really cold in Berlin. Windows must be open several times a day to exchange, as Alex indicated, stale indoor air
But
for
I think
fresh outdoor stuff.
based on what you just said, it makes sense maybe why they burp their house so many times a day.
Well, that was a good point.
You know what I mean?
But this is interesting. Some of the I do know what you mean. Some of the leases that people have on apartments actually require you to open the windows multiple times a day, or even especially in the winter. German courts have ruled that absent specific landlord guidance, a tenant is required to open windows twice a day, morning and evening, for 10 minutes each.
Now, that is a long period of time.
Yeah,
I would
honestly,
say so.
though, I do feel like, just a little bit of cold air through the window. It does. Not only does it feel a little good, but for some reason in my head, I'm like, this is good for the.
No, dude, I actually do it. But I don't do it for 10 minutes when it's
that's
1
what
degree,
I mean.
right? Because I like to do it also because things get stale,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's cannabis issues as well.
Sure.
But it 10 minutes, that seems a little
That's
extreme.
a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Alex Rich, national champion.
Thank you.
Adjacent.
Thank you,
Alum,
Mark.
Adjacent. We'll see you.
We'll see you.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got an accident on westbound 70, and it's really close to Lindbergh. They've got the left lane blocked. Traffic is jammed back past 170. Also jammed is westbound 6440. It's near Vandevenner out through McCausland at 270, and then in pockets from Highway N out through 70. Now, that's the heaviest. Southbound 270, just moderate volume, approaching Olive down through, looks like Gravois now. 55, slow pockets south of Arsenal through Revis Barracks. Through Bates. It looks fine by the time you get to Revis Barracks. 44, a little slow in both directions between Grand and Hampton. And eastbound 40 lines up east of Jefferson to the Poplar. 44 westbound, slowing in front of the bridge itself, actually in front of the arch grounds. This report brought to you by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Need a new garage door? Entries are now open for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door. Enter now at overheaddoorstlewis.com. Deadline end of the month. You can't win if you don't enter. Enter overheaddoorstlewis.com. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Talk about politics with Duane Patterson from hotair.com and the Duane's World podcast coming up after Fox News.
Heidi Ricken, Provost of Ricken Financial, understands the importance of financial stability in your retirement plans.
If there's something we can do to help benefit your financial future and provide more strength and stability in your retirement plan, that's exactly what we do here. And we do so on a complimentary basis.
Call today, 314-207-6211 or online at rickenfinancial.com and join us for Kickin' with the Rickens, Sundays at 1 p.m. right here on 97.1 FM Talk. Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor.
He's Donald Trump's #1 enemy in Congress, Chicago politician Dick Durbin. Now, Durbin has a new scheme. He's doing the dirty work to benefit corporate megastores. Durbin's bill could cut corners on your credit card security, putting your personal data at risk. Big chain retailers and warehouse stores want to inflate their profits, and liberal Dick Durbin would help them do it. Tell senators, say no to the megastores and Dick Durbin. Paid for by the Electronic Payments Coalition.
Hey, celebrate the new year with our friends from Zero Res. Carpet, tiles, upholstery, hard surfaces. Basically, everything in your home can be Zero Resified. So it's time to call the cleaning pros at Zero Res. Bring in the new year with 3 rooms of carpet cleaned at just $119, plus a free hallway and 15% off regularly priced services when you mention 97.1 FM Talk. 314-474-2020 or book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Oh, how's that flu, babe? Did you take Dayquil Intense Flu yet?
Nah, I got this. Ugh, okay, I don't got this.
You stay on the couch, and I'll grab the Dayquil.
Undo your flu symptoms with Dayquil Intense Flu. Dayquil Intense Flu provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms.
I'm ready for that to-do list.
Wow, you do got this.
DayQuil Intense Flu, the daytime coughing, aching fever, under your flu medicine. Use as directed, keep out of reach of children.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
A breakthrough on Greenland. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News.
It's a long-term deal. It's the ultimate long-term deal.
President Trump, after meeting with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte in Switzerland on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum, the president saying as a result of that, he's pulled his plan for tariffs on several European nations that were set to go into effect next month. But Danish officials are holding firm, telling Fox Business's Edward Lawrence Greenland is not for sale.
The Danish foreign minister is not saying there's not a deal. He's just saying that now he can start talks, whereas the two sides were sort of dug into their corners with this threat of tariffs. Now he's saying that there actually can be talks related to this deal going forward. Now, we'll have to see exactly how it goes forward.
President Trump has repeatedly said that U.S. ownership of Greenland was necessary to prevent threats from Russia and China. Stocks recovered half of yesterday's plunge after President Trump called off the Greenland-related tariffs. The Dow gained 588, the Nasdaq added 270, the S&P plus 78. ICE officials are moving toward entering private homes for enforcement, even without a warrant from a judge. That's according to an internal memo obtained by the Associated Press.
The guidance would reportedly allow ICE to forcibly enter a home based on an administrative warrant from the agency, not a warrant from a court, to arrest someone with a final removal order. This is even as residents are urged not to allow federal agents in without being shown an order for entry. The directive is said to have been signed by Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons and dated May 12th of last year. DHS spokeswoman Tricia McLaughlin told the AP anyone being served an administrative warrant has already had full due process. Legal challenges are expected.
Fox's Gernal Scott. States of emergency declared in South Carolina and Texas ahead of what forecasters say will be a blockbuster winter storm this weekend. America's listening to Fox News.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
The northwest flow grabbing control once again, and we're going to add a southwestern storm system for the first half of the weekend, but nothing until then. Mostly clear skies, breezy and cold tonight, 24 for the low. On Thursday, partly sunny and cold, 37. Thursday night, clouds take over, windy and very cold, down to 12. Friday, clouds, dry, but cold, 14. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, quite the day. We started with the announcement. If you haven't heard this, it's kind of exciting if it happens. It was kind of exciting a couple of years ago when it was announced, and then it never really happened. But Yachty has been named as part of the St. Louis Cardinals. Once again, the news release went out today. It says St. Louis Cardinals announced that Cardinals great and two-time World Series champion Yadier Molina is rejoining the team as special assistant to the president of baseball operations, Chaim Bloom. We talked about this a little bit. It looks like some of it will be, behind the scenes. Some of it might be in the dugout. Love to see Yachty in the dugout on a regular basis. I have great audio to share a little bit later this hour. Of course, we'll point toward audio cut of the day. Coming up at 5:30, Dave Simons, who is one of our experts on finances. The market's been a little crazy here the last couple of days. And Trump's been talking about the economy in Davos and also ripping on Jay Powell. So we'll see what Dave thinks about the markets moving forward and where the Fed might land in the spring as well. Right now, we welcome back Duane Patterson with HotAir.com, the host of the Duane's World podcast. How are you this afternoon, Duane?
I am doing great, Mark. I would say hi to Sue, but it looks like she is not in her chair. She must be off taking care of the rest of the sheep that she is not currently wearing as a coat.
Good pickup on your part. Sue does have some other responsibilities with one of our FM stations, so she often steps out to do that. I know she would not want to miss you specifically, Duane, so we would not want to take that personally.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it was great to hear from the chief meteorologist, especially with a storm like this coming. The storm of the century, the storm of our lifetime. You do not want a deputy meteorologist today.
You know, and you can say all that because you're out there in Southern California where our chief meteorologist lives, but this is a big storm, and I think we might get off a little easy, but wow.
Yeah, it shifted north. It's going to kill the Beltway. It's going to kill them dead.
Yeah, we'll have to see how people handle this because, we're 3 days out, and the forecast changes quite a bit in 3 days. So we'll see how much of this holds.
The forecast for the Beltway is between 1 and 78 inches of snow.
Exactly.
Which it's either going to be Greenland or it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Okay. All right, so that's a nice segue, Duane. Fred told me you might have some news. You might have some news to break with me this afternoon. Is this true?
I do. So what's the latest that you think you know about what happened or where the play for Greenland is? What's the last that you reported?
Okay, I had Mark Thiessen on some audio from Fox about 90 minutes ago where he was trying to explain this. He actually used a relatively good analogy about the Guantanamo Bay in Cuba and how we kind of lease that area even though they don't cash our checks. So the last I heard is that there was some sort of deal and Trump was calling it infinite, and that's what I know.
Right. So he did a little mini gaggle somewhere in Davos. A handful of reporters caught up with him, and he didn't tease too much of it. He did a stand-up interview for our friend Joe Kernan on CNBC, in which he started to give teases about what the deal was. He said, We've got the makings of a deal. We've got the outline of a deal, but I don't want to give too much away because, Marco's coming in, Rubio, Secretary of State, everybody else is going to hammer out the details, and we'll have all the details soon. Of course, most people thinking that's Trump talking. Okay, he's walking back from the cliff. He didn't get what he wanted. Now he's got to walk that back, and he's got to try to declare victory where there's no victory. Except, of course, in the last 5 minutes, the New York Times, and reposted on X by our good friend Brett Baer of Fox News, here is the makings of what that deal actually looks like. It's 3 paragraphs. If you'll indulge me, let me tell you what this deal is.
Yes, I'm very curious.
The announcement followed a NATO meeting on Wednesday where top military officers from the alliance's member states discussed a compromise in which Denmark would give the United States sovereignty over small pockets of Greenlandic land where the U.S. will build military bases, according to 3 senior officials familiar with the discussion. The officials spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss a sensitive diplomatic matter, and they said the idea was one Mr. Rutte, who is Dane, but he now runs NATO, had been pursuing. 2 of the officials who attended the meeting compared it to the UK's bases in Cyprus, which are regarded as British territory. The officials did not know if the idea was part of the framework announced by Mr. Trump, asked for comment about the deal and its contents. NATO said in a statement that negotiations between Denmark, Greenland, and the U.S. will go forward, aimed at ensuring that Russia and China never gain a foothold, economically or militarily, in Greenland, end quote. So the bottom line is nobody knows for sure what the final product is going to look like, but what it sounds like, you have to go back to the art of the deal with Trump, right? You can hate him all sorts of ways about how he handles himself and how much of a bully he can be, and I get that. But if you look at the art of the deal, what he actually does, his MO, he wants X. He's got a baseline of what he wants and what his absolute minimums are. And then he goes on the rampage and demands the sun, the moon, the stars, and everything that you could possibly want. and he leans on him. He puts pressure on him. He makes all sorts of veiled threats. He goes wishy-washy. The markets freak out. Everybody freaks out. And then when you actually get down to what it ends up being, what did Donald Trump want with Greenland? Did he want the entire island? Did he want the whole thing? What did he actually want, Mark?
Well, I would say two things, and I think this is what he's achieving. I would say mineral rights and also a defensive position to be in because of China and Russia. You want that piece of land for strategic reasons, militarily.
You want to be able to put military bases on there so that they can put satellites and radar on there, so it's an early warning system that we don't have on an Arctic that may be more navigable in the near future.
Part of the Golden Dome, if you will.
Part of the Golden Dome. That's exactly right. As far as mineral rights, those options still remain on the table, but that was always what they wanted to do more than us taking the mineral rights was denying China and Russia. And that's what apparently has been done. We never owned Greenland. Now we kind of ceded control of it, back after World War II, and I understand that. But here's what the net result, according to what this reporting is. The net result is we're going to get what we want out of Greenland, which is a defensive front and being able to expand our perimeter fence, if you will. And we don't have to really pay much of a dime of anything for it. We don't have to give $100,000 per resident. We don't have to take on the health care of every citizen of Greenland. We don't have to make it the 51st state. I think all that was just art of the deal stuff. And what he wanted was to move the military fence out a little bit further to be able to cover the Arctic. And the terms of this, allegedly, are not like a 99-year lease where we've got to pay for it for X amount of time and then we lose everything we have there. This deal apparently is Denmark realizes it, NATO realizes it, and says, okay, you can have your bases. It's a big enough island. We don't have to keep it all. You take these parts, and it's going to be like an embassy. It's going to be our spot, our land, forever.
So here's, your boss, Hugh Hewitt, reposted this. Here's a summary of what you just said. The U.S. will gain control of small pockets of land in Greenland. The U.S. will be involved in Greenland's mineral rights. Greenland estimates are $5 trillion, by the way, of natural resources. The U.S. Golden Dome system will be involved in Greenland when it's built. The deal is designed to block Russian and Chinese influence, which is huge. This will open the door to U.S.-backed infrastructure, so that's economically, that's good for Greenland, right? The duration of the deal will have an indefinite time frame, as you just indicated. So that's what's emerging right now.
So tell me where in that we lose on the deal.
Nowhere. I mean, even if you would just go to the issue of, blocking China and Russia's influence in the region, that's a win right there.
Right. Exactly. It's not just the fact that in fact, I talked about this a few weeks ago with the Honduras thing. Not Honduras, the Venezuelan thing. Even if all you looked at was removing Maduro, which was a net positive, it's worth doing. But by denying China the Venezuelan oil, by denying Russia the safe harbor there, it's an extra win, right? I mean, you get both ends of the deal here with Greenland too.
One of the things that's been difficult, and I just admitted this from the beginning of the show, is it's really complicated, right? So it's hard to figure out exactly what's going on. What it does is it gives the other side, and I'm sure that they'll still do this, even though the facts will, be different, to offer a narrative that, tells the American people that we're sending troops to Greenland, we're taking over the island, and we're planting our flag and all this stuff, and it creates images in people's minds, especially those who hate Trump to begin with, and it makes TDS even worse. But I'll be very curious to see how the team on CNN and some of the other legacy outlets cover this, because they won't be able to make some of those claims based on what we're hearing. Well, they'll still make them, but you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean. Look, here's the one thing about Donald Trump, which is an absolute law of physics. Donald Trump breaks people. He just does. The way he comports himself, his rhetoric, there's just something about him that makes a third to half of the people in this country just crumble into little bitty pieces. And he just announced from Davos in the beginning of his hour-and-a-half-long deal today that the U.S. is poised, if all the numbers come in the way they're reporting to Trump, the fourth quarter GDP is going to be somewhere at 5.4%. And to the left and to the anti-Trumpers out there, they're still going to find fault with that. Mark, we could be at 15% GDP in the first quarter of 26, and people will still hate Trump with the heat of 1,000 suns, right? I mean, he just breaks people.
Right. And I heard him refer to some of this, and, I think 15, 20%, that's simply not going to happen. But let's just focus on 5+%. That's a huge number.
That's a huge number.
Yes.
That's a huge number for the economy compared to what it was a year ago. On our show today, we asked callers, just the simple Reagan question, are you better off than you were a year ago? Virtually every call was. We had one legitimate call that said, no, I am worse off today. I'm almost bankrupt today than where I was a year ago. We asked him what he did. He imported Chinese toys. Well, yeah.
Okay.
You're gonna have it rough. Everybody else is doing great.
Unbelievable. Duane Patterson from hotair.com and also the Duane's World podcast is here. All right, let me take your temperature on this. And keeps evolving week after week. But I'm expressing, we were off on Monday, but I've expressed this a couple of times this week so far, that I think the narrative on the immigration situation in ICE in Minnesota is getting away from the president a little bit. Now, the vice president's supposed to be there tomorrow. But now you have a chief of police from Brooklyn Heights, which is near Minneapolis, saying that his officers were people of color who are being pulled over and asked for papers. Now, I don't know what's true and what's not true, but what I do think at this point is this is not going to help Trump on an issue that he owned completely a year ago. You want to talk about numbers and where they were, and you can't deny, whether it's fair or not, whether the legacy media's lack of honesty on this topic is at play or not. It doesn't matter because perception is reality. I think there's giant political risk here right now that maybe they're not seeing.
There is giant political risk. I'm hopeful. Now, same thing with J.D. Vance. He's a kind of a guy that you can love him or hate him, from time to time. But the thing about J.D. Vance, he gives really good speeches and has given just tremendously awesome
I agree.
Speeches, right?
Yes.
He's going to Minneapolis tomorrow to give a speech to try to maybe do the good cop compared to the bad cop of Donald Trump. Donald Trump yesterday in the White House press briefing room, went 25 minutes just showing the camera one rogues gallery picture after another of who these people were that they were arresting in Minneapolis and what they'd done. 10,000 people have been arrested by ICE that have criminal records in addition to the immigration violation. And so, Trump's playing the bad cop here. I'm really curious to see what kind of a speech J.D. Vance gives because he resonates to a younger cohort. And if he can resonate to a younger crowd of people, I'm not talking about the paid protesters and nutlogs in Minneapolis, but if he can go to Minneapolis and give a speech that resonates with younger Americans as to the kind of people we're doing and why we are doing what we're doing and why we have to continue doing it and do it in a coherent, methodical, calm manner, the way that J.D. Vance can do, then I think that goes a long way to help.
Yeah, he's fully capable of doing that if, he's given the exposure. But I hope he takes questions because that's one of the things I love. He's always very honest and direct on the questions, right? So we'll see what happens. Yep. All right. Hey, Duane, awesome to have you on. We'll talk next week.
You got it.
Check out the podcast. Duane's World Podcast. Hotair.com is where he contributes.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Things are looking better on westbound 70, but it's a little bit slow there at Jennings Station Road. And then between 170 and Lindbergh, that's where we had that earlier accident. 64 is still lined up. It's near Vandeventer, out through McCausland, moderate volume in Lindbergh, and again on either side of Lake St. Louis Boulevard. 44 is pretty busy tonight. It's between Hampton and Grand, and this is in both directions. It's mainly due to road work eastbound. But we still have some volume southbound 55 south of Arsenal through Bates, southbound 270, slow pockets south of Page, down through Gravois. Quiet through North County. We look great through there. And we also look good headed for and crossing the Poplar Street Bridge. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Wondering if dangerous contaminants are in your home's water? Get Leaf Home Water Solutions today. We can't live without water, but we can take actions today to make it safer and healthier. Leaf Home Water Solutions is offering a free in-home water test. Just visit leafhome.com/free to schedule yours. With results from their advanced digital testing, Leaf Home Water Solutions can design a whole home system and expertly install it in as little as 1 day. With Leaf Home Water Solutions, you can feel confident that each drop of water from every tap and appliance is cleaner and safer for you and your family. We can't live without water, but we can take actions today to make our family's water safer with Leaf Home Water Solutions. Schedule your free home water test today at leafhome.com/free and save 15% on all home water treatment systems. That's leafhome.com/free for your free home water test and 15% off. leafhome.com/free.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call me, Lance Drury, today and let me get between you and the IRS. I'll protect your rights. At the Lance Drury Law Firm, our practice is focused 100% on fighting the IRS. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Drury Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis. Call 314-260-6120. Visit Lance, DRURYlaw.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
The Mark Reardon Show is St. Louis Conservative.
Wrap up a little political news that I barely mentioned at the beginning of the show, but pretty significant. Michelle Tafoya has gotten in the race for U.S. Senate in her state of Minneapolis, or Minnesota. She's in Minneapolis. Michelle's become a regular guest on the show for the last couple of years after she stepped away from her sideline reporting gig, and you'll hear a little reference to that in her campaign video.
For too long, hardworking people have been ripped off by criminals, corporations, and career politicians. And the people doing everything right are the ones paying the biggest price. Well, I'm not going to stay on the sidelines any longer. Starting today, I'm running for the United States Senate.
Well, here's the bad news for Michelle. She lives in Minnesota. I think she's great, by the way.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of people who will compete in a GOP primary. Tina Smith, who I've never even heard of, is the current United States Senator. Have you ever heard of her?
No.
Neither. Amy Klobuchar, of course, is the other one.
Right.
But Tina Smith is, I guess, a one-termer, and she decided to not seek re-election. One of the guys that's in the race, I think there's a former football player that challenged her last time and is also in this race. She makes a fantastic candidate, and it's hard for me to believe. Fred and I should have saw this coming because for the last week or so, Michelle's been a little more elusive than typical.
Yes.
And, I think one of the reasons is that she was talking to the, the Republican Senate campaign committee and maybe the president as well. I really don't think, and Michelle's pretty smart, I don't know if she thinks she could really win that race in Minnesota, but maybe all bets are off because Tim Walz is such a goofball. You have to remember, too, it's sort of like Wisconsin to a certain extent. And I don't know Minnesota like I do Wisconsin,
right.
so I'm taking a little bit of a guess here, but Wisconsin has pockets that are essentially like Moscow, like Dane County, which is in the middle of the state. That's where Madison is, the university. That's, communist haven right there. But you have different parts of the state that are relatively conservative. The city and the county of Milwaukee, not exactly conservative, but there's a lot of, there are Republican members of the legislature. This has changed a little bit in the last, I guess, decade. Just kind of has Missouri, we used to be able to elect Democrats to a certain extent with statewide offices. Jay Nixon, people like that.
Right.
They used to be able to do that with Republicans in Wisconsin. It's not as common. But I bring it up in comparison to Minneapolis because the whole state is not Minneapolis, right? But it is a progressive state. And I don't know, even with the name recognition, you'd have to think that Trump gave the blessing, and that's why she's in the race. But she's in this race late.
Yeah.
This is
really?
This is for November.
Oh.
Yeah. So, you usually get in a Senate race like this a lot earlier, but with her name recognition.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah, but with her name recognition, it's not like she's got to explain to people who she is. So that's a win right there. On the topic of her city, Minneapolis, Nick Shirley, who was the independent journalist who broke the story. It's hard to believe it's been a month now since he's the guy that broke all this story about fraud related to the Somalis. Now, in fairness to some of the other reporters up there, like Liz Collin that we know, and David Strom from hotair.com. This is stuff that's been out there that some people have known, and certainly Liz at Alpha News has been reporting for years. But Nick kind of put it on the national and international map, and he was invited to testify today before a fraud subcommittee hearing in D.C.
Since my reporting, the HHS department froze over $185 million, and to this day, not a single business has been able to prove proof of legitimacy. Governor Walz has said he's been fighting fraud in Minnesota since 2019 and said the buck stops with him. However, how long would it take for you to notice $1 million leaving your bank account and not knowing where it's going?
Yeah, that's a pretty good question, right? I mean, we're talking the numbers, the math, it's staggering. Billions and billions of dollars. And, that's barely getting any attention now, right? Luckily, they had a hearing about it today, but it was off the radar. And then I played this audio yesterday, and this is picking up a little bit of attention from some of the right-wing or the conservative media because this is quite something. Scott Jennings, who we invited to come on today, but he was too busy. Hopefully we can get him tomorrow. He's getting a little tougher to get on the air, too, because of all his responsibilities. But he's on the panel with Abby Phillip. I don't think Abby was actually hosting this night, but this kid, Cameron Kasky, who's about 25 years old, he was one of the survivors of the Parkland shooting. He drops this little nugget in there about Trump, and Jennings notices it. I think it's John Berman, who's the other voice here. He doesn't think it's a big deal.
Initiative that the president is being transparent about this. I would love it if he was more transparent about the human sex trafficking network that he was a part of, but you can't win them all.
Cameron's grateful that the president is being transparent about the Nobel Peace Prize and his desires for Greenland. Scott, what do you think about that?
You gonna let that sit? Are we gonna claim here on CNN that the president is part of a global sex trafficking ring, or?
Well,
I mean,
we're gonna talk about the Epstein file. Scott, I will do the fact checking as we go along here. Repeat what you said about the global sex.
Okay, and John Berman is such a jackass. Scott, I will do the fact checking. We should have done it to begin with.
Trafficking ring?
That Donald Trump was provably very involved with it?
Okay. We'll get to that later. I mean, Donald Trump has never been charged with any crimes in relation to Jeffrey Epstein. But
let's be adults here.
We'll talk about that.
Let's be serious.
Okay.
Satisfied?
Yeah, let's be serious here because what happened in that moment is, and John Berman's instincts should have kicked in and they didn't, because I guarantee you there were people at CNN that were watching that, and some of the higher ups were like, oh, we're going to have to call the lawyers. We're going to call the lawyers because we're going to get sued over this by Trump and going to have to cut another check, right? So that's defamation 101 right there. So this kid goes on social media and he says, I would like to retract my comments from CNN last night and truly apologize Donald Trump was obviously not involved with a giant international child sex trafficking ring where women and children were systematically raped by elites. I said that by accident, and I didn't mean it. I don't believe him for a second. He knew exactly what he was doing. He did it intentionally. The only reason he put the apology out there, and I think it's a snarky apology, is because they probably forced him to do it. And it'll be interesting to see if he gets called back. But guess what? What would have happened there if Jennings didn't even bring it up? Nobody else on the panel was going to do it, right? So he calls it out, and that way it gets a little bit of attention, and John Berman almost blows it off. Not a good move, CNN. You'd think they'd learn from some of their past mistakes, but they just don't.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
If you are going out of downtown on westbound 70, it's mainly moderate volume, and this is in pockets approaching Jennings Station Road on out. 6440 is heavier. And this is from about Van de Venner in pockets out through 270. You get a break and moderate volume on either side of Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Moderate volume is what we have on southbound 270, and that's south of Page, down through just south of 44. 55 is slowing south of Arsenal down through down through Bates. And if you are on 44, east and westbound, pretty slow between Grand and Hampton. That's mainly due to road work. 44 westbound slowing in front of the Arch grounds. But things look great if you're headed into Illinois on any of the bridges downtown. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
It's a perfect example this week of why you need the help of the Retirement Advisory Group, because the market's been up, it's been down, wild swings, a lot of it to do with the economy and what's going on in Davos internationally, et cetera. But how do you know if you have enough money to retire on? That's really the question right now. When we do these events with Thomas Helbig and the team from the Retirement Advisory Group, it's interesting because Mark Cox and Annie and I are all up there, and Mark and I are at a different period in our life, and Annie's quite far away from retirement, and she offers a different perspective. But it really doesn't matter where you are. Maybe you're already retired, and you want to figure out a way to make that money last longer because you see how inflation is ticking it away. So make an appointment today with the Retirement Advisory Group. You got nothing to lose. There's no obligation. They'd love to see you. They'll explain their philosophy, which is safely linking to the market that locks in your gains. What's it all about? If they make the claim that no client has lost a penny of their principal, how is that possible, right? Well, Thomas and the team will show you. Let them prove it to you. 314-993-9494, the website, retirementkey.com. For the official financial planners of this show, Thomas Helbig and the Retirement Advisory Group.
If you suffer from burning, tingling, or numb feet, pay special attention as we discuss neuropathy with Dr. Patton, D.C. Doctor, what is neuropathy?
Peripheral neuropathy is nerve damage to the feet and legs.
What are the symptoms?
The symptoms are numbness, burning, tingling, pain, and loss of balance.
Is neuropathy treatable?
It's absolutely treatable, and we have amazing results.
If you have burning, tingling, numbness, coldness in your feet or hands or balance issues, call us at Comprehensive Integrated Health today for a nerve damage screening. The screening will tell if you're at risk for serious complications and if you're a candidate for our cutting-edge treatment program. Don't wait until your symptoms are so severe nothing can be done. End-stage neuropathy leaves people confined to walkers, wheelchairs, and even amputations. The first 10 callers will receive a free nerve damage screening. Call 636-538-5188. That's 636-538-5188 for your free nerve damage screening. 636-538-5188.
SSM Health welcomes the St. Louis Golf Expo January 30th through February 1st at St. Charles Convention Center. Get bonus golf balls and Pro Tour tickets while they last. Presented by Post Dispatch. Test big brands with Pro-Am Golf. Enjoy the Sinclair Lincoln Long Putt, Trilogy Financial Simulator, and lessons by Elevate Golf at the Golf Expo January 30th through February 1st in St. Charles. Thanks to ESPN 101, Tito's Vodka, Sun Valley Golf Course, Yingling Flight, and the BMW Championship. Special tickets at stlgolfexpo.com.
According to MasterCard, nearly half of small businesses have been a victim of a cyber attack. As cybercrime escalates, ThrottleNet is calling on businesses to strengthen their security posture by taking a free online IT security audit right from your desk. This 3-minute online assessment provides an immediate score to see security gaps and vulnerabilities in your network. For 26 years, ThrottleNet has supported your business IT everything right here in St. Louis. In fact, no client of ThrottleNet has ever paid a ransom. So visit throttlenet.com/971 to take the free assessment today.
License number E2014A.
Hey, it's good to see you.
At Grasser Home Services, we're looking for happy plumbers to join our team. Plumbers who are polite, honest, and do the job right.
and love dogs. They must love dogs.
Plumbers who treat customers' homes with respect, care about the details, and show up on time.
Know a happy plumber who's great with dogs?
Have them call Grasser Home Services.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
5:34. This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
From Wood River to Weldon Springs, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
The stock market was up today. It was way down yesterday. And in Davos, Switzerland, the president was talking about the market, reacting to what happened yesterday.
That dip is peanuts compared to what it's gone up. And we have an unbelievable future in that stock. That stock market is going to be doubled. We're going to hit 50,000, and that stock market's going to double in a relatively short period of time because of everything that's happening.
Well, we know he's never hyperbolic, but let's find out what Dave Simons thinks this afternoon. He's the partner managing director of One Private Wealth. How are you, David? Good afternoon. Happy New Year, all that. Is it too late to say Happy New Year? It probably is, right?
Yeah, I think there was a
cutoff.
Curb Your Enthusiasm, or Seinfeld said there's a certain date where you can't say it, like after January 2nd or 3rd. But I'll still accept it. Happy New Year to you.
Well, so it's been a couple of very illustrative days because we've had wild swings in the last 2 days. Now, I don't know if we're going to be sitting here when I talk to you in 6 months at 100,000 with the Dow. But, let's go back to last spring. And we talked last spring when, it was Liberation Day and all the tariffs kicked in. And there were a fair number of economists that were predicting we'd be in a recession. We may be in 5% economic growth right now for the fourth quarter. We'll have to see. So what's going on out there, and do you have as much optimism as our president?
Well, I'm not quite that hyperbolic, no. But certainly, would anything surprise me, Mark? No. This is one of those years where I started by saying nothing would surprise me. The Dow could finish at 70,000, 65,000. That's not my base case, by the way. But
right.
Would I be shocked to say, wow, that's crazy? No. Would it shock me if the Dow finished at 34,000 because of all the geopolitical issues that are afflicting the world right now? No. It's one of those things that, I look at inflation, interest rates, and the Fed typically, and corporate earnings. And right now, those are, for the most part, somewhat favorable. So if I had to give you a base case for 2026, I would say the market could be up, maybe not like the last 3 years, which were great, double-digit returns. But I'm cautiously optimistic for the most part, yeah.
So how much does the situation, here obviously there's economic issues in our country domestically, there's these geopolitical issues, there's, economic issues internationally. How much of what the market is doing the last couple of days is related to like Greenland and the international issues?
Almost everything.
Really?
And this is another. This is why those of us in my profession always say you don't panic and you don't trade day to day and you don't trade by headline news. Geopolitical issues typically have very little to do with the market longer term. They'll trade very actively and overreact to some degree day to day. But when you look back and go, oh, man, why did I sell that? Or why did I buy that based on that day? Because it typically means very, very little. And this is proof, Mark. We had yesterday the market sell off when Donald Trump was talking about maybe even using force. That's very hyperbolic on his part. This personal opinion, I don't think you need to go that far. That was never going to happen.
Well,
and
that became very clear this afternoon anyway, because it looks like they're striking a deal. But yes, I understand the point. Yeah.
Yeah, and so today when he's actually speaking in real time, when he's up on the podium and he says, "No, we're not going to use force." Well, you kind of knew that anyway, so you wonder why he even did that as part of his negotiating style, of course. And then the market, it didn't make back all of its losses yesterday, but a big chunk of it. So here we are, net. The gerbil's spinning his wheels in a way. We didn't really move much, but anyone trades in this stuff, it's usually a mistake. You ignore it. Geopolitical issues typically have very little to do with the market longer term.
So what would you say as far, the president's not letting up on Jay Powell. He hit him again today a couple of times, right? He doesn't like Jay Powell. So Jay Powell's going away. We don't know what the Fed's going to do. It looks like they may cut again here in the spring. He doesn't think they're cutting enough. Is another quarter point realistic as we head into the spring?
I think a couple of times this year, that's sort of our base case. It may not be as much as the market wants, and certainly not as much as the president and the administration wants. But, Mark, I got to be honest, I still think that you do have a threat of the return of some inflationary pressures out there.
I don't disagree with you. Look, look, Dave, I'll give you a real life, and this is what people experience, and this is where there's a little criticism of the president right now, where he may be, I don't think he's acting like Biden, but the critics are saying he's living in denial about the economy. So a couple of days ago, I go to my Walmart in High Ridge, and I had a few things that I needed to get. And I looked at my cart, and then I do the check on my own, $95. And I'm looking at my cart, and I looked at my receipt, and I actually I took my calculator out on my iPad, and I added everything up because I was so stunned that those items, there weren't a lot of them, were $95. And that's the kind of stuff that's been happening for the last few years. And it's not stopping. You know what I mean? So people feel the inflation still, and whether it's fair to tag one person over the other on solutions doesn't matter. That's what I've been critical of more of the ICE action in Minneapolis the last few days, because the perception is reality, and there's political implications to all these things as well.
Yeah, his messaging on inflation has, to be honest, has been poor. You can't look at this big swath of Americans, and many of them Trump supporters, and say, don't believe your lying eyes. Because they do go to the grocery store, they go to Costco, they go to Walmart, and they know that prices continue to move higher. Now, yeah, it's not 8 or 9%, and it's down in that 2.7 to 3%. But for him to say there is no inflation and we have beaten inflation is just factually not true. And so there's a better way to message that. And I will give him credit on a couple of things. At least somebody got his attention in the administration and said, we need to tackle a few things. So I may not agree with a lot of the proposals coming out about capping your 401k for home purchases or capping credit cards at 10%. I have issues with that. My point is, at least we are addressing it. So get all the proposals out there, get all the issues on the table, see what works and address it, and that's a step in the right direction.
Let me ask you about the credit card situation, because that's one of those populist issues, and people hear that. And look, I think it's outrageous that these companies can charge 28, 30%. One of the tricks, and this hasn't happened to me for a while, but you get offered into the 0% financing for 3 months, and man, you don't pay that thing, and then it goes to 30%, and you're paying interest. So I understand the complaints. I've been trapped by that over the course of my life as well. Now, I'm a free market guy as well, so when I hear things like that and manipulation of the economy, I'm not real happy about it. But what are your thoughts on that? Explain why you think that's a bad idea.
Yeah, it's a bad idea, Mark, because if you look at the finances of a lot of these credit card companies like a Visa or MasterCard, the two big ones, they don't make the biggest chunk of their change on these big interest rates. There's a lot of risk there. They make it on other things. And so when you, like fees, for example, and special promotions that they have, think about it this way. How about these pay loan companies that you see on the corners in downtown cities that charge?
Right.
Yeah, 40%, 50%. There's a reason why these guys aren't exactly living in mansions. There's a reason why the guys who own these places don't have more competition. That is a tough business because many, if not most of their clientele actually default on that. There is high risk and not as much reward on this. And it's the same with credit card companies. They have a lot of defaults. And so the way to make up for the losses on that is they do have to charge higher interest rates. Look, I am not defending credit card companies at all.
No, I understand.
I'm not friends of theirs. But if you look at their financial makeup and their business models, that's not an area where they're just making money hand over fist. So, but this gets back to my point, Mark. At least we're talking about it. At least we're talking about some solutions to help those who are hurting the most. So the president says 10% for 1 year, not forever. Okay, we can talk about that. Maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's a year to give some people a little relief. but not to put a cap forever. That's like rent control, which just does not work.
Well, right. It would not happen. But look, I understand. I really do, because I think that when you get into the 25, 27, 28, 30, that's just unbelievable.
You never get out of it.
Right. You never get out of it. You make your minimum payment. You can make the minimum payment for 100 years, and you'll never get out of it, right? But here's the bigger problem, though. And I'm going to wind this in, because I think this is just the reality of what people do. So here we're in a situation for the last 3 or 4 years where we know people have still been spending a lot of money, right? We see the economic activity. We also know that credit card defaults are up. We also know that credit card balances are up when they were at an all-time low 5 years ago because we were in the pandemic. But we also know this. We know that if we have a lot of credit card debt, we can't refinance because we got 3%, 2.8% rates on our mortgage. So that puts people into a different kind of area of hurt. So I've always had some economic concerns along those lines. Those balances are going to keep going up. If you don't have a way to refinance or pay that debt off at a cheaper rate, then what do people do? And that's going to affect the economy.
And Mark, there you just hit the nail for me longer term. This is the thing that concerns me most longer term, well after I've retired. And that is the growing divide that we're seeing in this country. This is no one president's fault. This has been developing for a number of years, and we have to address it. I don't profess to know the answers or provide any solutions, but it's got to be addressed because you have a growing number of Americans who are not able to compete, not only in this economy, but they're being left behind. That's why they call it the K economy. If you think about that letter K, so you've got everyone on that right side going up, hey, this is great, and you go into the Chesterfield Valley area, you can't get a seat at a nice restaurant anymore, and you can't, and then there are the people on the lower side going, oh, that's great. The economy's largesse is great for you. I'm not participating.
Yep. Yeah.
That needs to be addressed.
That is a real problem. David Simon, it's always great to have you on. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
I don't have the answers either, but those are discussions that need to take place moving forward related to the economy. 5:45, we have an audio cut of the day on deck.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've still got some volume on westbound 70, but it's so much better. Right now, it's really just moderate between 141 and the Blanchette Bridge. Now, 64, we've got a report of an accident near Hampton and some slow-moving traffic behind that. Then you get a break and look pretty good all the way out through the 70 split. Now, westbound 44 looks good tonight. It's a little bit slow at 270, but it looks better around Kings Highway. It's eastbound that is still slow. We've got road work in that area. Just moderate volume southbound 270 approaching Ladue Road in pockets to just south of 44, and 55 southbound is slowing at Bates. We look great if you're headed into Illinois on any of the bridges downtown. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Sounds like a line to a joke, but a coyote has swum. Is that correct?
Swim.
Well,
let's say
swam.
Go with it.
We'll go swam. A coyote swam to Alcatraz.
What?
I'm not making it up. I'm going to explain next.
Let's show our appreciation for local heroes. Mark Cox here. Nominate a first responder and their department could get lunch from Grill Master Tony's. I'll personally deliver it. Share their story at 971talk.com. Nominate them today.
Accidents happen quickly, especially in rideshares. Whether you're the driver or the passenger, injuries can leave you with more than just physical pain. They bring uncertainty, stress, and questions about what to do next. At Kaufman Townsley, we understand the challenges you face. We're here to help you navigate the tough time, fight for what you deserve, and get you the support you need. Kaufman Townsley, real people, real results. Call 314-777-7777.
St. Louis, laugh it up with Jimmy Fallon live at the Factory on January 24th. From national radio to sold-out comedy clubs, Jimmy delivers fast, fearless stand-up that hits home.
The only ones raising tough kids anymore. The redneck babies are going to take on ISIS. The hipster babies are going to battle the evil forces of gluten. You know what I'm saying?
Grab your friends and get ready for a night of laughs. One show, one night only. Don't miss Jimmy Fallon January 24th at the Factory. Get your tickets now at thefactorystl.com. That's thefactorystl.com. BioBalanceHealth.com.
Hey guys, Glover here with my very, very good friend, Dr. Kathy Maupin at BioBalanceHealth.com. If you have reached that certain age and you're just not feeling very well and nothing's working the way it used to work, go see Dr. Kathy. She is not only a medical doctor, she is a patient of this bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. It absolutely works. It's a long-term solution. She is an artist when it comes to helping you with your hormones. BioBalanceHealth.com for Dr. Kathy Maupin.
If you need a garage door, this could be your lucky day. Entries are open now for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. A winner will be chosen at random to receive $5,000 towards new garage doors, openers, or front entry doors of your choice. Deadline to enter is the end of the month to win the $5,000 sweepstakes with Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Enter now at overheaddoorstlouis.com. You can't win if you don't enter at overheaddoorstlouis.com.
Hi, it's Mark Cox inviting you to join me September 30th as we discover the charm of Switzerland, Austria, and Germany with Colette Travel. Spend 4 nights in Bern and then 4 nights at the foot of the Alps in Innsbruck. From the cobblestone streets to the postcard-worthy mountain landscapes of the amazing Alps, we're going to explore the Swiss capital of Bern and lovely Lucerne, the Swiss paradise on the lake. We'll travel the Austrian countryside to Salzburg with a visit to Mozart's birthplace, and then Mirabelle Gardens featured in The Sound of Music. This and so much more. Colette handles all the details. The flights, the meals, the hotels, the local experiences. All you have to do is have the time of your life. Don't miss this trip. Meet me and the folks from Colette to learn more at the Lodge at De Pere, Tuesday, February 24th at 2 p.m. Call Colette at 800-581-8942 or go to 971talk.com/events for details.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's best eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Mark Reardon, Sue Thomas. This is The Mark Reardon Show.
All right, so audio cut of the day is coming up here in a couple of minutes, but I have to share this story. This is in the LA Times this morning, and they tell the story this way. When Aiden Moore heard a guest had spotted a coyote on Alcatraz Island, he figured they were mistaken. Then the visitor showed video proof to the 43-year-old who drives a tram and helps people board tour boats on the island off of San Francisco. I've never been on the island. I took a little trip 35 years ago around the island, like a little boat trip, but I never went to Alcatraz itself.
I've only seen it from the shore.
Yeah. So there's footage that was taken on January 11th that shows a coyote paddling to the southern shore and then climbing up onto some rocks, hunched and shivering. It does not show where the coyote came from or reveal its fate, whether it was washed back into the water or trotted off into the island's interior. This was reported originally by the San Francisco Gate. It's the first documented instance of a coyote swimming to Alcatraz, and it came months after they filmed the coyote swimming in the San Francisco Bay, a couple of miles to the north near Angel Island. And I guess what happened there was a lone, this is what they think, a lone coyote travels there in 2017, perhaps then being joined by another, and now they have 14 because they made it, right?
Whoa.
So one of the things that, has happened, and we got coyotes all over the place here, but you've got so much development out there. Apparently, there's evidence that, this is fascinating, Sue, there's evidence that suggests that 25 years ago, that when they were redoing some of the infrastructure, that coyotes walked across the Golden Gate Bridge from Marin County, where they noticed the population was growing because they were looking at deer population, right?
Oh.
So this guy who was looking at Angel Island wants to now launch a broader inquiry about how often coyotes do swim across the bay, what happens when they do. I mean, if you got 2 of them over there on Alcatraz, you can easily get a pack if they're the right, the right sexes, obviously. Coyotes, I think, just abide by biological sex. I don't think they have transgender coyotes. But isn't that interesting?
That is interesting.
I always find it because I love the LA Times. I really do as a newspaper, despite the politics of all of them. But they always track these mountain lions out there, too, that are in, they're living in areas right in between heavily, heavily populated neighborhoods. And they put trackers on some of these things. So, like, if they did find this coyote, my guess would be they would tranquilize it, put a
bring it
tracker on
back.
it. No, not bring it, but put a tracker on it and then find out what
Oh.
it's going to do. So then they know, its activity.
What is on Alcatraz Island right now? Is it just like the old prison? I mean,
That's a
what's
really
there?
good question. So it's 22 acres. Angel Island, this is a great question, Sue. You led me right into it. So Angel Island is 740 acres. Alcatraz is 22 acres.
Oh.
And that's a great question because is there enough
food, or what's attracting them, or is there anything?
So we'll see. But I thought it was a fascinating little story there.
Wow, that's
from the LA
cool.
Times today. Let's do this here.
Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
I'm going to keep it simple here because I'm almost out of time. And I just like this cut so much. And I just wrapped up the second season of Landman, which is just a whole lot of fun. I mean, it's just a dumb show, but Billy Bob Thornton and the cast do a great job. And Billy said something in an interview to wrap up the series about fans asking for selfies and autographs that I thought was really cool. And this is our audio cut of the day.
They say, why don't you take pictures with everybody and stand there and talk to a woman whose son's in dental school for a half an hour? Here's the reason, because they put my kids through school. And so you owe it to them. You really do. And anybody who doesn't come out of their trailer, because they're upset about, I don't want to say that line or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or if they ignore the fans and walk past them like they mean nothing, I think that's a bad thing for our business. And so I make sure that I do that. I'm not bragging on myself. I'm just saying I think I owe that.
I think that's awesome that
That
he
is
has
nice.
that philosophy. And I think a lot of stars do feel that way, and athletes as well. They have deep appreciation. We wouldn't be here if we didn't have the fans.
gosh.
But I'm glad that he said that out loud. And for those people who, even if you watch season 1 of that show of Landman, try season 2 because it got better.
That's your favorite?
In sort of an outrageous way, because these are soap opera. Taylor Sheridan, he did Yellowstone and some of these other shows, but it's just mind-numbing entertainment, and Billy's so good in it. I mean, his characters. I loved Goliath. That's another show. If you have not watched Goliath on Prime, it's 3 seasons. He plays this really unique, funny detective, so he makes that show, and he makes Landman as well. Sue, have a great night. We'll talk tomorrow at 3.
You got it.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We are looking pretty good out there on the roads. Westbound 70 is great out of downtown. Really no delays. 64 is still slow approaching Hampton out through McCausland, but to the west it's all right. Now, westbound 64, most of that volume right around approaching Hampton in through that area. Well, we used to be slow westbound on 44, but that has thinned out. In fact, eastbound, we've just got some moderate volume at Kings Highway. And 55 looks good through the construction zone. We're also quiet on the bridges downtown. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Over the years, I've mentioned how much fun it is, and really it's inspirational to meet a lot of mine, to get to know and really become friends with a lot of my sponsors, because they really work hard at building their reputations and their business. And Mike Gower and the team at Michael's Bass is another excellent example of that. And we want to guide you into a great experience with a bathroom remodel with a company that only does baths. That's all they do. American-made products. A lot of experience, and they come in 30 to 50% less than the competition on the bid. So what have you got to lose? If you're looking at an entire remodel, you want to make the tub space a little different with a walk-in shower and some safety features, that is exactly what they do. They specialize in this. All they do is bathrooms. One thing that is important is they do have and this is something that can pay for the entire project. There's grants that can pay for veterans that are approved by the VA that can maybe even cover the entire bathroom project. So that's something you may want to ask them about. 636-775-0800, michaelsbass.com. Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning